You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Then it perfect in the kid. Got a billion new single, my hate on the better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper than
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Enters Kingdom Hearts Verse. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of K.F.B. Anime 87 and Thanatos 125 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the authors too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Mando's ship. So we all get our own room? Elastigirl asked, as she looked around the massive inside of the ship with Naruto while the others were doing their own thing. Yup, apparently old man Merlin knew you were coming, Naruto said, as a name suddenly appeared on the door near them. Helen? Who's that? He asked, as he scratched his head. Elastigirl giggled at his cluelessness, which made him more cute in her opinion. That's my real name, Naruto, she says as she removes her mask. Naruto almost tripped, seeing her face for the first time. Wow, I didn't expect to almost floor you with just my face, Helen said with a slight giggle. Well, I didn't expect you to suddenly trust me enough to show me your face, Naruto said. You saved my world. I think my face and name can be trusted with you, she said with a smile. You're dead, you little freak, Lulu yelled, as she ran past them chasing Stitch, who had her Moogle doll in his mouth. Stitch hung from the ceiling upside down looking at Lulu. Miga nalla questa, he said in a mocking sing-song tone and blew a raspberry at her. Lulu made sparks appear in her hands, as Stitch took off again with Lulu shouting, I'm gonna fry you, you little annoyance, she said as she chased after him again. Naruto gave a sigh, as he said, let's go and stop Lulu from killing Stitch. Helen gave a nod, as she thought with a smile, at least things won't be boring around here. Stitch, give that back, it's too early for your nonsense, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. Naga this fun, Stitch yelled, as he dodged a bolt from Lulu. Well, at least he doesn't fear you anymore, Naruto said looking at Lulu. Give me time, Lulu growled as she prepared another spell. Stitch made a face as he got ready to run again, when he froze and an image of a clock appeared in front of him. There, that should fix things, Garnet said, as she approached Stitch and took Lulu's doll from him, before she gave it back to Lulu. You know the stop spell too? What did you do in that castle? Garnet, read spell books all day, Naruto asked as he read up on magic a bit, thanks to Merlin's book, and he knew the stop spell was high level. She gave a shrug, as she replied, sadly yes. I didn't have many friends in the palace in Alexandria. Naruto recognized the lonely look in her eyes, as he didn't have many friends growing up either. He then approached Garnet and tapped her shoulder. Well, you have friends now, he said with a smile. Garnet looked at Naruto and smiled softly at how sweet he was being with her, wanting to comfort her. Can I still zap him? Lulu asked hopefully, as she looked at a still frozen Stitch. Stitch's eyes started moving rapidly, as he was helpless to run, and he didn't want to get zapped by Lulu. No, Lulu, Naruto said as Garnet undid the spell, causing Stitch to fall to the floor where he stretched out the kinks for being frozen. Oh, whoa, Stitch groaned. Magic la cuesta, he said as he spat at the floor, as he showed his dislike of magic being used on him. Don't provoke Lulu then, Stitch, or next time I'm gonna let her get a hit in, Naruto said, as he was tired of playing referee with them. Stitch shook his head and started babbling in his alien language. What did you say? Naruto asked as it sounded important to him, as he wished that they had some kind of translator for moments like this. He said, it's not fair. I want a doll for my room, Mando said as he left his room. You understand him? Naruto asked, surprised that he could. Space Bounty Hunter Kid. It is a requirement to know multiple alien languages, Mando said. Awa poor Stitch. He wants a toy too, Garnet said as she pet Stitch on his head. How old are you? Lulu asked, as no one had ever actually asked him before. Stitch thought, then held up 3 fingers. This many, he said. He has the mind of a supercomputer, but he's a toddler, Helen asked as she read information about Stitch from Merlin's book. Next world we find, I'll buy you a stuffed animal of your choice, buddy, Naruto said as Stitch smiled and tackled Naruto and licked him on the face in happiness. Maybe more dog than toddler, Helen said, seeing this with a smile on her face. Okay, Stitch, I know you're grateful, but please stop with the licking and allow me to get up, Naruto said. Yay, I just finished lunch, Tifa said as she approached from the kitchen. You cooked? Wow, Tifa, you should have told me. I would have helped, Naruto said as Stitch climbed off him as he stood up. You keep being sweet, and I may let you take me out on a date, Tifa said with a smile as they all headed for the dining room to eat. When they got to the dining room, they saw Gragu already there in a high chair and Logan sitting down as he helped himself to the food on the table. Meatloaf? Stitch yelled as he ran to his plate and dug in. Never had this before, Naruto said as he sat down and started to eat a bit more well-mannered, unlike Stitch. Why's that? Garnet asked as she sat across from him. Mostly because I could only afford ramen as a kid, Naruto said as he ate. Your parents only let you have ramen? Lulu asked him in shock. Naruto shook his head as he said, I was an orphan from the moment I was born, as my parents died protecting me from a monster that was being manipulated, he said, as he didn't blame Kurama for what happened to his parents. Everyone around the table looked at him in shock, with some of them having their mouths hanging open at what they heard. I was fine, guys, so let's just eat. We should be arriving in the next world soon anyway. Right, Mando? Naruto said, trying to change the subject to something more pleasant. Yay, we should be there soon. So be ready for anything, Mando told everyone, as he fed Gragu some soup. Gragu was reaching for a piece of cake, and it started floating to him before Mando grabbed the plate of cake. Soup first, kid, then cake, he said, as he placed the plate down. He's force-sensitive? Lulu asked surprised, as she had heard about the Jedi back at Traverse Town. Mando nodded, as he explained to everyone that he was searching for one to give Gragu to, when the Heartless had attacked. Dang, that sucks, bub. You find a way to send a signal to a Jedi, and right when he sends the signal, the Heartless attack, Logan said, sounding sympathetic, as that was really bad luck. Well, if he was able to make contact with a Jedi, eventually one will find us, right? Naruto asked. Mando shrugged his shoulders as he replied, we can only hope. Good attitude, as with the Heartless around we need that more than ever, Helen said matter-of-factly. They all continued to eat and chat with each other, when a chiming noise was coming from Mando's wrist. We have arrived at the next world, Mando said, as he stood up and headed for the cockpit. Gragu whined, but Naruto picked him up. Don't worry, buddy, Unkai Naruto has you, he said with a smile. They followed after Mando, and when they arrived, they saw the computer displaying what world they had arrived at. Paris? Helen asked in surprise. Many worlds are similar to each other in some ways, Garnet said. Ah, so this Paris won't be like one I may know in some ways, Helen said, getting the idea of it. Exactly, Garnet said, nodding her head. Well, let's go, but stick together if you can. Paris is a big place, and we don't want to get lost, Tifa said. If you want to check something out, at least take 2 others with you, Naruto said, as it was always best to have backup in case things went south. They approached the teleporters and pushed the button to send them down to the new world below. Paris. Wow, this place is huge, Naruto said, as the buildings were almost as tall as the Hokage monument. They all were looking around and saw they were getting looks from the people, as they did look strange to them. Must be our clothes that are making them stare, Tifa said, as everyone in Paris was dressed in regular clothes. Gypsies, a woman said, whispering as she passed them. PFFT gypsies, that's a new one, Logan said, snorting in amusement at being called that. Let them think what they want, Lulu said with a scoff, not at all bothered. Oh cool, look performers, Naruto said, as he pointed out a small group of people. One was a man that was playing a flute, and a woman with black hair, tan skin, and green eyes was dancing around while shaking a tambourine while a goat jumped around with her. Naruto watched and liked the music very much, as he nodded his head to it and smiled as he threw a few gold coins into the hat in front of them. The woman gave him a nod of thanks, along with a wink in his direction, which made Naruto blush in surprise. Ugh, he attracts them like flies to honey, Logan said to Mando, who nodded in agreement. Suddenly they heard someone whistle loudly, and the woman reacted and went for the hat filled with money, when suddenly she was stopped by two men in armor. "Okay, gypsy girl, where did you get the money?" one of them asked. "I earned it, fair and square, soldier boy," the woman said, sounding mad at being accused of something she didn't do. "Gypsies don't earn money," the guard said, rolling his eyes. "Yea, they steal it," the other soldier said, grabbing the woman's arms from behind. Naruto didn't like what he was seeing, as he gave the men a glare while the others too glared at them. "You would know a lot about stealing," the woman said. "Troublemaker, huh? Let's lock her up for a bit. Maybe that will teach her respect," the soldier not holding her said. Naruto had seen and heard enough as he stepped forward. "I smell a fight coming," Tifa said, as she had a feeling Naruto was going to do something reckless and stupid. "Good, those guys need a beating," Helen said, as soldiers like this were supposed to help people, not bully them. "Hey soldier boy, you want to bully someone? Try me," Naruto said as he approached them. The two soldiers looked at Naruto and scoffed. "Get lost before we," the man said, before he lurched forward as Naruto struck him in the stomach with the butt of his keyblade. The woman took this chance to kick the man Naruto hit in the crotch, and then her goat head butted the soldier holding her, making him let go. The woman then ran off with her goat companion. "Get back here, gypsy," one of the soldiers yelled, as him and the other soldier tried to chase them, but they were tripped by Tifa and Helen, and they fell forward and fell into a manure pile. The townspeople watching started laughing at the soldiers' expense, seeing this as very funny. "Well, at least now their smell matches their personalities," Lulu said with a smirk. Suddenly more soldiers approached them and surrounded them with swords and spears pointed at them. "Great, the morons had backup," Tifa said, as she cracked her knuckles in case they decided to attack. "Who are you people?" a well-dressed older man with a hook nose said, as he approached them on a black horse. "We are only here to help, by stopping the Heartless from attacking you," Naruto explained. "I see, well then we should be welcoming to you. My name is Judge Frollo, and you and your friends shall be my guests at the festival later today," the older man said, as he slightly bowed his head at them. He then turned to the men in the manure pile, and said to four others, "Get those two men out of there and cleaned up immediately," with a no-nonsense tone. He then turned to Naruto again, and asked, "May I know your names?" "Sure. Mine is Naruto, and these are my friends, Tifa, Helen, Stitch, Lulu, Logan, Garnet, Mando, and, finally, Gregu," Naruto said as he pointed out each of his friends. "Interesting company you keep, my boy," Frollo said, looking at Stitch and Gregu with intrigue. "They may look small and strange, but they are powerful enough to send anyone running for the hills," Naruto said. "And the women are fighters?" Frollo asked, as he looked at the females with a snide look. "Wouldn't be with me if they weren't," Naruto said confidently, leaving no room for argument. "Very well, follow me my boy, and I will lead you to the cathedral so you and your friends can rest up for a few hours before the festival," Frollo said, as he turned his horse around. "Ooh, oh festival," Stitch said, excited as that sounded fun, while clapping his hands. The guards gasped at Stitch talking, with some backing away. "You have taught your pet to speak? Very impressive," Frollo said. Stitch then glared at Frollo as he growled at him. Naruto shook his head at Stitch, who stopped and followed him. As Naruto walked, he saw some gold coins on the floor and picked them up. He then saw what looked like an old man with a robe covering his face as he sat in a corner with a hat at his feet. Naruto approached the old man and dropped the coins into the hat along with a few jewels he had. He then whispered, "Stay out of trouble, miss," before he walked off, as he followed Frollo. The gypsy woman from earlier took the robe off and looked after Naruto with an intrigued look, as not only was he brave, he was generous too, as those jewels could feed her people for a month easily. Town Square. "Wow, that's a big church," Tifa said, blocking the sun with her hand as she looked up at the massive church before them. "Yes, Notre Dame is the pride and joy of Paris," Frollo said as he looked up. Naruto could feel someone watching them in the church with his senses, and when he looked up in one of the towers he just saw a figure moving into the shadows. "Such a sad, lonely soul," Kurama said to Naruto in his mind, as he felt the figure's emotions too. Naruto nodded in agreement, before he looked to see if any of the others had sensed someone watching them. Seeing that no one had, he decided to check it out later. "So what kind of festival is this?" Mando asked, as he saw that some gypsies were setting up a stage and some tents and booths. Frollo scoffed at this, as he replied, "It's a festival that is put on every year by the gypsies. Quite frankly, I would ban this festival from happening at all, but the people like it." Everyone in the group frowned at him, as they could tell he wasn't a kind old man at all. "Why even show up if you hate it?" Lulu asked, as she crossed her arms. "Because as the judge of Paris, I must keep the peace. And a gypsies festival is a breeding ground for sin and debauchery to happen," Frollo said. "What is this festival called?" Garnet asked him curiously. "You will see soon enough, Miss Garnet. For now, I suggest you rest in Notre Dame. I will see you in a few hours, young man," Frollo said, looking at Naruto for a moment, before he gave his horse a light kick to get it moving. The group watched as he left, with his guards following in 2 lines. "Man, what a stiff," Naruto said, as the others nodded in agreement. "A party pooper," Stitch said, as he blew a raspberry after Frollo. "We aren't gonna actually be his guests, are we?" Logan asked. Naruto gave a reluctant nod, as he said, "Yes, if we don't, it'll seem like we're being rude." "Probably for the best anyway. Guy may be a jerk, but he hasn't done anything bad enough to warrant us attacking him," Tifa said as they entered Notre Dame. "Give him time. Power corrupts people like him every time," Lulu said, as she had seen this scenario before. "Hello to you travelers," a monk said, as he walked over to them. "Hey," Naruto said casually, as he walked over to him and shook the man's hand. "You have a good aura for one so young," the monk said, with a smile. "Thanks. Me and my group were told to rest here by Frollo, until the festival starts, as we are to be his guests," Naruto told the monk. "Ah, well, feel free to rest here," the monk said, as he left to attend to the church. Naruto nodded, and as he went back to the others he felt the same presence from outside again. Naruto looked and saw a figure in a stairway that led upstairs. "Hey, you okay?" Naruto called out to the figure, getting the attention from the others who looked at the figure, before it turned and ran off. Naruto took off after the figure, with the others watching. "Should we follow?" Garnet asked, as she didn't know if the figure was good or evil. "Nah, it's not a heartless, so the kid can handle it," Logan said, as he took out a cigar. "How do you know?" Garnet asked him, with a raised eyebrow. "Whatever it was, it smelled human," Logan said as he lit his cigar. Tifa walked over and took his cigar. "Show some respect. We are in a church, Logan." "You doggy?" Stitch asked, sniffing around Logan's legs. "In a manner of speaking, I would say I'm more of a Wolverine," Logan replied. "Fitting," Helen said, as that fit him perfectly. "With Naruto." "Wait, I'm not gonna hurt you, you know. I just want to talk," Naruto said, as he got to the top floor outside on the roof. He then looked out at the city below, and was impressed with the view. "Wow," he said, as this reminded him of the Hokage monument back home that he'd sit on when he was bored. Suddenly Naruto sensed 3 auras nearby, and looked at a corner of the roof. "You can come out, you 3. I can tell you're there," Naruto said. "Crap, how'd he know we were here?" he heard a voice say, which sounded like it was coming from someone snarky. "How am I supposed to know?" another one said, which sounded like coming from an intelligent person. "Kid has good senses, so we may as well go say hi, you two," a third voice that sounded like an old woman said. Naruto watched as 3 small stone gargoyles hopped over to him. "Definitely one of the strangest things I've seen," he thought. "Greetings, young man, and welcome to Notre Dame. I'm Victor, the intelligent gargoyle," said the taller one. "Name's Hugo Kid. How did you know Quasi was watching you so easily?" the fat one said. "Don't be rude, you idiot," the third gargoyle said, bonking Hugo on the head with a fist. "Ouch. Oh, come on, Laverne. You want to know how he caught Quasi so easily too," Hugo said, holding his head. "Question, who's Quasi?" Naruto asked, as a figure appeared in front of him from one of the towers above. Naruto looked, and saw it was a young man who had a deformed face and a hunched back. "Why are you here? Sanctuary, get out!" the young man yelled, as he leapt down. "Whoa, it's okay. I was just curious why you were watching me and my friends," Naruto said, holding up his hands peacefully. The man looked at Naruto, and saw that his eyes were full of kindness. I'm sorry. I was just curious because my master was escorting you to the cathedral. My name is Quasimodo, and it's a pleasure to meet you, as he held out one of his hands. Nice to meet you too, Quasimodo. My name's Naruto, Naruto replied, as he shook Quasimodo's hand. Doesn't that mean fish cake? Victor asked as he had read a lot of books over the years. Naruto crossed his arms, while giving a pout as he mumbled, it also means maelstrom. This made the gargoyles laugh good-naturally, as it was a little funny. So what brings you to Notre Dame? Quasimodo asked. Naruto made his keyblade appear, surprising the gargoyles and Quasimodo. I'm here to seal the keyhole in this world, so the Heartless don't destroy your world, Naruto said to them. The Heartless are coming, Hugo yelled in surprise, as he held his head in worry. You know what the Heartless are? Naruto asked, as he was sure he would have to explain it to them. We have been around since Notre Dame was built, so we have heard of them and what they are capable of, Victor said as he had a worried look. What are the Heartless? Quasimodo asked curiously. One explanation later from Naruto and the gargoyles, and Quasimodo was surprised at what he heard. I'm surprised such things exist. So you are here to help my master stop the Heartless? Quasimodo asked Naruto, with a hopeful look. Naruto nodded. I'm gonna guess Frollo is your master? Naruto asked him. Quasimodo gave a nod of his head, and explained how he came to live in the bell tower. Naruto's eyes briefly flashed red in his rage at Frollo, before he calmed down. So you've never left the cathedral at all? He asked Quasimodo in surprised shock. Quasimodo nodded with a frown. Well, that changes today. You're coming with me and my friends to the festival, and I'll hear no arguments from you, Naruto said. The gargoyles had gleeful looks, as they tried to get Quasimodo to leave for years. But my master will be mad if I disobey him, Quasimodo said, with a slightly fearful look on his face. Then wear a mask. It's a festival rite, Naruto asked him. Quasimodo was silent, as that was actually a good idea. Plus, me and my friends will be there to make sure if anyone tries anything, it will be the last thing they ever do, Naruto said with a firm look. I don't want anyone hurt because of me, Quasimodo said. Naruto could tell that Quasi was a lot like him, as he placed his hand on his shoulder. Look, it's good that you're a kind soul as that's rare. But if you don't interact with people, then you're wasting your potential away staying in this cathedral, Naruto told him. The gargoyles nodded in agreement, as Victor said, Go and have a good time with your new friend Quasi. Quasimodo sighed as he thought about it, as he really wanted to see the festival up close for once, instead of watching it from afar. Okay, I'll go. Will you go get me a mask? He asked Naruto, as there weren't any in the towers. I'll go do that now, but first I have a question, Naruto said as an afterthought. Of course, go ahead, Quasimodo said, as he gestured with his hand to say what was on his mind. Has your master been interacting with someone suspicious lately? Naruto asked him. Quasimodo thought for a moment, as he said, Not really from what I can recall. There was that fat cat man, Hugo said, as he had a glare when he mentioned him. Oh yes, the man who gave Frollo his new horse, Victor said, as he placed his fist in his hand in remembrance. I'm surprised that the horse listens to Frollo. It was going nuts when that cat man gave him to Frollo, before he tapped it in the head, and the horse glowed black and stopped fighting back, Levern said while scratching her head. Great, so Pete is here and Frollo is using darkness, Naruto said, with an unhappy look. He was probably trying to gain your trust, by making you his guests and being all friendly, Kurama said. My master is using darkness? Quasimodo asked. Naruto nodded and said, Yes, he is, and I also suspect that he has an army of Heartless to command too. So if you set the old hook nose off, he'll summon his army. Well, that's just great, Hugo said. Well, for now, we'll play nice. At least until the festival is over, and we find the keyhole, Naruto said, as he left to go get a mask for Quasimodo. I like that kid, Hugo said with a smile. The other two nodded in agreement, before the three made plans for fighting the Heartless. With Naruto. A hunchback? Tifa asked curiously, as Naruto had just told them the situation. The hunchback of Notre Dame, Helen said in thought. Knew that old man was a snake in the grass, as soon as I saw him, Mando said, and even though he had his helmet on, the others could tell he had an unhappy look on his face. We attack him? Stitch asked with a smile, hoping they were. No, we play nice for now, Naruto said, as he patted Stitch on the head, who pouted that he didn't get to hit the mean man. Yes, we must help Quasimodo enjoy the festival, Garnet said, sounding determined to let Naruto's new friend have a good time, for the first time in years. I'm on it. I won't let him out of my sight, Logan said, with a nod as he didn't like the fact that this hunchback had never been outside before. Here, Lulu said, handing Naruto a Moogle mask that was big enough to cover Quasimodo's entire face. You love Moogles, don't you? Naruto said with a smile at Lulu, as she had a stuffed doll and now a mask. What? They are cute, Lulu said as she looked away from Naruto with a blush on her face. Toy, Stitch said as he jumped up and down. Naruto patted his head, saying, Don't worry, Stitch. I haven't forgotten to get you one. There are game stands at the festival that have stuffed animals as prizes, Helen said with a smile. Perfect. We can win one at the festival for Stitch and something cute for you, Lulu, Naruto said with a teasing smile. Gragu cooed, looking at Naruto as Tifa picked him up. Don't worry, you'll get something too, she said with a smile. Lulu blushed lightly and looked away from Naruto, who laughed at her reaction. It's okay to like cute things, Lulu. It doesn't make you weak, Tifa said, as she interacted with Gragu. If anything, I think it makes you cute, Naruto said with a smile as he took the Moogle mask upstairs to Quasimodo. Before he did, he made a shadow clone, just in case Frollo arrived to take them to the festival. Lulu was blushing red at that, with the others laughing at how red she was in the face. Ooh, you crush on Naruto, Stitch said, as he then laughed. Lulu gave Stitch a glare before she aimed a hand at him and hit him with a light water spell. Naga water, Stitch yelled as he was now soaked, before he shook himself to get the water off. Lulu smiled, feeling much better. Excuse me, the festival will be starting soon. I am to escort you, a soldier said, coming in. We can go ourselves, Bub Logan said, as they all walked past the soldier. With Naruto. Here you go, Quasi, Naruto said. You're lucky my friend had a mask that could fit you. Great, the festival is starting. Let's go, Quasimodo said as he put on the mask and his cloak before he jumped off the cathedral's roof onto a streamer that led to the ground below. Naruto was surprised at seeing Quasimodo do that. Wow, Huncy and acrobat. Well, can't let him outdo me, he said with a smile, as he jumped down and ran on a streamer like it was a tightrope, down to the festival below. Naruto landed next to the disguised Quasimodo with a smile at him, who slightly jumped in surprise at Naruto appearing so silently. There are my friends, Naruto said with a smile, as he led Quasimodo to his friends who were sitting at a table set aside for Naruto and his group. Naruto dispelled his clone and switched with it without anyone noticing. Hey guys, this is my new friend, Naruto said as he sat down at the table, with Quasimodo taking the seat next to him. Nice to meet you, Quasi, Mando said as he nodded at him and waved. How's the festival so far? Naruto asked, as him and Quasimodo were late to arrive. Pretty interesting, this festival of fools, Helen said, with a smile. Yay, they celebrate the weird apparently, Garnet said, as she looked around from their table. Is that why people keep looking at Stitch and giving him food? Naruto asked with a smile, as Stitch was eating from a pile of food that passing people kept adding food to, with Stitch having a happy look on his face. Can't think of another reason, Tifa said with a smile, as she took a drink. I'm cute and fluffy, Stitch yelled out proudly. That too, Tifa said with a smile, while shaking her head. Suddenly there was a poof of red smoke at the end of their table, as the woman Naruto helped earlier appeared in a red dress, while wearing what looked like a tiara on her head and a goldine headpiece holding her hair in place, along with a necklace and a purple scarf with a goldine hoop in her ear. She looked stunning as she started to dance, showing off her body, while waving the scarf about. Esmeralda is always the best dancer at the festival, a man nearby said, as he drank his ale. Wish I could dance like that, Tifa, Lulu, Garnet, and Helen collectively thought, as they saw how Naruto was reacting as Esmeralda danced closer to him, with a smirk on her face. Don't faint, Naruto thought, as Esmeralda came near him and wrapped her scarf around his neck and pulled him close to her face. Esmeralda smiled at his blush, as normally a guy this close would try something with her. she decided to reward him for earlier with the guards and pulled Naruto into a kiss, surprising everyone there. That tramp, Tifa, Lulu, Garnet, and Helen thought as a collective seeing this. Naruto's mind was blank as Esmeralda pulled away from him with a smile as she danced away from them, leaving her scarf around his neck. "You okay, kid?" Mando asked, as he saw Naruto was atomic red as he suddenly face planted into the table. "Technical knockout," Stitch yelled, laughing hard at Naruto. "So that's his weakness, not the worst one I have seen," Logan said with a smirk as he drank his ale. "His weakness is women?" Quasimodo asked curiously. "I think it's more that he has zero experience with them," Mando said as he shook his head at Naruto, who had hearts in his eyes, while many Esmeraldas were dancing around his head. "They're gonna crown the king of fools," a man yelled as a crowd went to the main stage. "Oh, I must see this," Quasimodo said as he left to go take a look. "Too late. He's right here," Lulu grumbled as she approached Naruto and made a spark in her hand, tapped him between the eyes and zapped him. "Yoich," Naruto yelled as he snapped out of it and stood up. "What happened?" he asked as he looked around thinking he was under attack. "That woman you saved kissed you, and you almost fainted," Lulu said flatly, with a deadpan look. Naruto's eyes widened as he remembered what happened, and blushed. I'm sorry. I have zero experience with women, and when she kissed me my mind just went blank," Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head with a blush. "That's your first kiss?" Garnet asked, as she tried not to let her jealousy show. Naruto thought about it, and shook his head as his face paled. "Why, yes it was," he said as it was technically true, since this was his first kiss with a woman. And that time he accidentally kissed Sasuke. He was trying to forget that ever happened. Bullshit, Logan and Mando thought in unison, as they could tell there was a story behind this. Suddenly, they all heard a commotion at the middle of the square, where Naruto and his friends looked and saw villagers gathering around the stockade. "Let's move," Naruto said, as he had a bad feeling about what was happening. The rest of his team nodded, as they all got up to go take a look at what was going on. When they got there, they saw that Quasimodo was unmasked and tied up as the guards were about to start throwing fruit and vegetables at him. Naruto looked at Garnet, who nodded as Naruto picked her up and jumped over the crowd to the stockade. "Reflect," Garnet called out, as a bubble of red covered her. Naruto and Quasimodo, as the fruit and vegetables that were thrown, bounced off the barrier and struck the crowd back. Naruto looked around and saw Frollo, who was sitting at his table and had a look of anger on his face. "What is your problem? He did nothing wrong and you're allowing this?" Naruto yelled at Frollo, which silenced everyone there as they looked between the two men. "He disobeyed me," Frollo said, like it was no big deal. "As he should. He's a human being," Garnet yelled in anger, as she looked at Frollo with rage in her eyes. "How dare you defy me, witch?" Frollo yelled, as he angrily stood up. "We all defy you, asshole," Naruto said, as he freed Quasimodo. "And you're no judge, or man, or even a god. You're nothing but a bully, plain and simple," he said, as he gave Frollo a glare. Frollo glared at Naruto with nothing but rage and hate in his eyes, as a black aura appeared around him. "You will all pay for this insult," Frollo yelled, as suddenly Heartless started to appear, some looking like soldiers, and the three biggest ones looked like an elephant, a rhino, and a gargoyle. "Oh, that's not good," Logan said, as the group all stood up from the table. "We heard him now?" Stitch asked with an excited look, as he licked his lips while cracking his knuckles. "Go nuts," Lulu said with a smile, as if anyone deserved to deal with Frollo, it was Stitch. Stitch gave a maniacal laugh, as he jumped at the Heartless and started tearing them to shreds. "Save some for me," Tifa yelled, as she ran after him and she slugged a Heartless soldier in the head, which knocked it clean off. "Nice left hook," Helen said, as she grabbed one Heartless with her stretching arm and threw it into a group of Heartless. Logan had his claws out and was slashing at them left, right, and center. Lulu was casting off her magic at them. While she threw spell after spell at the Heartless, she was glad that her stamina for using magic was pretty high, so she could keep this up for a while as long as she didn't use any very high-level spells. Mando was using his jetpack to stay in the air, as he fired at the Heartless with his blaster and his sniper rifle. With the gargoyles in Notre Dame, they made a catapult before they pushed it off the tower to some Heartless at the bottom. Are you sure that's how it works? Victor asked as he scratched his head. The catapult finally went off, and the bottom of it crushed some heartless near it. Works for me, Hugo said with a smile. Fly, my pretties, fly, fly, Levern said laughing, as she directed a flock of birds to attack the gargoyle Heartless, who pecked at its head, eyes and body. Hugo ate some rocks and imitated a plane as he made the noises of a plane before shooting the pebbles in his mouth like a machine gun at the gargoyle Heartless, destroying some. Ha! Take that, you fakes! Hugo yelled in triumph as he gave a fist pump. A rhino Heartless approached Tifa from behind as she was slugging another, and it suddenly stopped from attacking her as it was lifted up off the ground helpless. Tifa looked and saw Gragu in his pod with his hand out. He waved his hand, and the rhino Heartless was sent flying into the stage nearby. Thanks for the help, little fella, Tifa said, as she gave him a nod of gratitude. Gragu yawned and fell asleep as his pod closed up to keep him safe. Naruto was slashing at the Heartless when he felt his keyblade tingle as a golden shine erupted from it. Huh? What's this? Naruto said with confusion as a powerful light erupted from his blade. He held it up to the sky as a beam of light shot up from the tower towards the keyblade. As the light faded in Naruto's hands was a new keyblade. It resembled the Notre Dame Cathedral. Its teeth were made up of a bell held by the mouth of a gargoyle standing atop an ornamental circular design from the cathedral, 3 long strands on the blade, appearing similar to the supports on the cathedral. Act as the blade, with them connecting onto yet another ornamental design that is the hilt and connected to 2 gargoyles facing outwards, away from each other. The handle is golden and connects to a golden chain that has a bell as the keychain. Guardian Bell. Naruto uttered, somehow knowing the name of this keyblade as if by instinct. Naruto then swung his keyblade, causing the loud sounds of a bell to echo out throughout the battlefields, causing the Heartless to screech in pain, holding their heads in pain as a golden wave shot from the keyblade and sent the Heartless flying as they exploded into pieces of darkness. What is that? Lulu asked in awe, as she threw a massive fire spell at the rhino Heartless, which destroyed it. No clue, but I'm not complaining, Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulder as he slashed another Heartless into pieces. Yee-haw! Stitch yelled as he was riding the elephant Heartless and leading it through the other smaller Heartless, where it was destroying the small Heartless by trampling on them. Garnet was dodging some slashes from a soldier Heartless when she was cornered by Frollo, who was on his black horse. You are a healer, according to Pete, so if I kill you, the rest will fall, Frollo said as he raised his sword to strike her down. Garnet on instant shot a barrier spell and blocked him, which sent him flying off his horse a good way. Garnet then looked at the horse and saw that it was completely emotionless as it just looked at her. She carefully and cautiously walked up to the horse while thinking, this horse is clearly possessed by the darkness. She then looked over where Naruto was and saw him fighting a group of Heartless. Naruto, she called out, as she knew his keyblade could possibly purge the darkness from this horse. He can't save you, witch, Frollo said as he went to strike her down with his sword. Garnet went to block the horse from Frollo, when the horse's eyes stopped glowing yellow and it pushed Garnet aside and charged at Frollo. Stay out of my way, Frollo yelled as he went to strike the horse, but he was blocked by Naruto, who shoved a Rasengan into his stomach. Frollo gave a scream of pain as the attack drilled into his stomach and sent him flying into a building on the other side of the street. The remaining Heartless all started disappearing since Frollo was defeated. Naruto turned to Garnet. You okay? He asked as he helped her up onto her feet. Garnet held his hand for a moment, liking how it felt before she composed herself. Yes, I'm fine, Naruto, thanks to this horse saving me, as she walked over and patted her neck. If anything, I think you saved her, Lulu said, as she came over and looked at the horse. She was possessed by the darkness. I'm surprised she threw off the control it had over her, Logan said as he walked over smoking a cigar. She's tougher than she looks, aren't you, girl? Garnet asked the horse as she pet it. The keyblade in Naruto's hand suddenly glowed as the keyhole appeared over Notre Dame. Of course it was hidden there, Helen said, as when you think about it that made the most sense. Naruto smiled as he pointed his keyblade at the keyhole and sealed it for good. Well, that's over and done with, Mando said as he put away his blaster before dusting his hands off. Naruto saw Quasimodo approaching where Frollo was sent by Naruto's attack. He saw him look into the destroyed building, but there was nothing but a black stain left behind. "Where did he go?" Quasimodo asked as he looked around. "Most likely the darkness inside him consumed him entirely," Lulu said, as the others looked around for him too. "Fitting for someone like him, if you ask me," Helen said, as she shook her head. The villagers soon came out of hiding to see if everything was okay now. Quasimodo looked at the people approaching and was nervous that they would shun him. Naruto nodded at him with a smile, encouraging him to approach them. Quasimodo nodded and approached the people who looked at him and smiled. "3 cheers for Quasimodo and his friends," a man yelled as they picked up Quasimodo to go celebrate with him as thanks for saving them all. "Okay, we ready to go now?" Logan asked, as he threw away his used-up cigar. "Yay, I set up the visitor seal," Garnet said with a smile. "Horsey?" Stitch asked, looking at the black horse. "We could take her to Traverse Town. They have farms and animal sanctuaries there," Tifa said. "Good idea," Naruto said. "You have a name?" Naruto asked as he pet the horse on her head. "According to Merlin's book, her name is Beauty," Garnet said. "Fitting name for the horse if you ask me," Helen said with a smile. "Okay, we are ready to go, Mando," Naruto said as they all grouped up. Mando nodded as he pushed a button on his wrist and they all disappeared. "That Keyblader and his group are getting annoying and stronger," Pete said as he looked at a crystal ball showing Naruto and the others. "Yes, a world saw fit to give his Keyblade a new form, which isn't common," Maleficent said as she stroked her chin in thought. "Why did that horse break free of my darkness corrupting it?" Pete asked. "Because your darkness wasn't strong enough, you fool," Nerissa said with a smirk. "Should we send someone to take them out in Traverse Town?" a man with blue fire hair said as he came into the light. "I'm open to suggestions, Hades," Maleficent said as she turned to him. "Let's send that spirit of vengeance we were able to corrupt with darkness," Hades said with an evil grin. The octopus woman laughed, hearing this. "Let's see this Keyblader and his group deal with that so easily," she said, as her tentacles moved about in the air. "Any more progress on the princesses?" the man with a snake staff asked. "Yes, actually, we have a few more now. One from my world," Maleficent said with an evil grin. "And one I was able to capture with a deal," the man with the top hat said, as he gave a bow. The young woman was living in a beast's castle, and jumped at the chance to be free to see her father again. "Yes, Dr. Faslier, I heard the beast there gave you some trouble," Maleficent said to him. Yes. I offered to turn him into a human again, but the fool only wanted the princess back. So sadly I had to send him to another world, so he would get out of my way," Dr. Faslier said. "And what world did you send him to?" Pete asked in interest. "I think it was a lost city, or something like that," Dr. Faslier said, not really caring. "Let's hope that no one helps him in that world," Maleficent said, as she didn't like loose ends. With Naruto. "Are we almost back to Traverse Town?" Naruto asked, with his head on his hands in boredom. "Soon. We have a warp drive, so we can get back to worlds we have been to in less time," Mando said, as he pressed some buttons and flipped a few switches. "Good, as we need supplies and to take Beauty to a farm," Tifa said. Suddenly the ship shook and almost sent them all to the floor. "What happened?" Logan asked, groaning as he hit his head. "Asteroids hit us. We can barely make it back to Traverse Town," Mando said, as the consoles showed him how much damage the ship had taken. "Great, so now we need repairs," Naruto said, groaning. "Relax. I know someone who can fix it for us at a decent price, with no problems," Tifa said with a grin. "Good, cause the less hassle the better," Helen said, as they approached the docks of Traverse Town. Docks. "Okay, so what's the plan?" Lulu asked, as they all got off the ship. "Okay, me, Mando and Tifa will go meet this mechanic friend of hers so we can fix the ship. Meanwhile, the rest of you will go take Beauty here to a farm on the outskirts of town," Naruto said, as they split up and went to their tasks. Soon they approached a big garage that was next door to a diner. The garage had a sign that said Hammerhead, and they saw a few mechanical parts lying about outside. "You sure this friend of yours can handle fixing my ship?" Mando said with an unsure voice. "Trust me, she's the best mechanic hands down," Tifa said with certainty, as she knocked on the door. The door opened, and a slender woman with short, curly blonde hair and olive green eyes was there. She was wearing a red cap with yellow outlines and a logo with the words Hammerhead and Full Service Station. She was also wearing black goggles which were hanging around her neck. She was wearing a cropped yellow jacket that was revealing her toned stomach, zipped a few inches under her breasts, and an orange bikini top with deep décolletage. She was wearing jean shorts with a brown belt loosely hanging around her hips, thigh-high black stockings, white high boots on heels, and brown gloves. The woman looked at Tifa and smiled. "Tifa, where have you been, girl?" she said as she hugged her tightly. "I have been a little busy, Cindy," Tifa said with a smile as she patted her on the back. "Heard you ran off with a Keyblader. He better not break your heart like Cloud did, or I'll crack him upside the head with my wrench," Cindy said, as she waved said wrench in the air. Tifa blushed lightly, but composed herself. "Cindy, me and Cloud are cool now. But anyway, we are here to get our ship fixed. This is Naruto, Mando and Gragu," Tifa said, as she pointed at them while saying their names. Mando and Gragu approach to go say hello, but Naruto stays back. "What's wrong, Naruto?" Kurama asked him, with puzzlement in his voice. "Why is it that all the women from Tifa's world are so pretty?" he grumbled out loud. "Well, aren't you a sweetheart?" Cindy said, as she approached Naruto and started looking at him, as if she was inspecting him. Naruto blushed when he realized he'd said that out loud and that they all heard him. Tifa was blushing too, as Naruto found her to be pretty. "You found a good Keyblader to help Tifa. I can tell he is strong and has a good attitude. Plus, he's a real cutie," Cindy said with a smile. "Cindy!" Tifa half shouted in embarrassment, as she turned away with her cheeks going red. "Ooh, oh look, a diner. I'm gonna go get something to eat with Gragu." "Let's go, little guy. Unkai Naruto will buy you a snack," Naruto said, as he picked up Gragu and walked off, his face beet red. "Awuwa, he's shy," Cindy said, as she giggled with her hand covering her mouth. "Cindy, he's not my boyfriend," Tifa said, as she crossed her arms. "So he's single?" Cindy asked with a smile. "Cindy," Tifa said surprised, as she usually wasn't interested in most guys. "I'm not hearing it yet, Tifa," Cindy said, with a grin. Tifa just groaned as she shook her head at Cindy's antics. "Not that this isn't fun, but we are here to have you repair my ship," Mando said, as he wanted to get things moving. "Ooh, oh, a Mandalorian ship. That will be a first for me, but I can handle it," Cindy said with a grin, as she rubbed her hands together. "Won't be expensive, will it?" Tifa asked, while hoping it won't be. "Get me a date with Naruto, and I'll knock off a good amount," Cindy said. "How much is a good amount to go on a date with Blondie?" Mando asked curiously. 30%, Cindy said, with a look that said she wouldn't budge. "Deal," Mando said, as the two shook hands. "You do realize you pretty much pimped Naruto outright?" Tifa asked Mando with a raised eyebrow. "Tifa, I'm surprised at you. I'm not that easy and you know that," Cindy said with a fake hurt look, while holding a hand over her heart. Yay, I know, but still you get what I mean," Tifa said. "Relax, it's just a dinner date," Cindy said as she gave a shrug of her shoulders. "Don't hurt him, Cindy. He has no experience with women," Tifa said. "Wow, really? Huh, and I thought that he'd be a pro with those good looks," Cindy said in surprise. "Kid fainted from a kiss from a woman in the last world we helped," Mando said, with a kind of voice that sounded amused. Cindy blinked, before laughing at the image that produced in her head. "Make that 40%, she said, as she got her laughter under control. "Poor Naruto, he has no idea what he's in store for," Tifa thought, as Cindy was a flirt and a tease. But thankfully a good person under all that, so she knew she wouldn't hurt Naruto. With Naruto. Naruto and Gragu were sitting at a table in the diner, with Naruto looking over a menu to see what there was to eat. "What sounds good to you, Gragu? Cheeseburger or pizza?" Naruto asked, as he had never had either of those before. Gragu looked at the menu and pointed at the cheeseburger. "Good idea. I need more meat in my diet," Naruto said, as he gave a nod. Naruto soon waved a waiter over, ordered for him and Gragu, and soon they were eating. "Not bad, huh, Gragu?" Naruto asked him as he ate the cheeseburger. Gragu made a happy noise as he finished his burger. It will probably be a while before the ship is ready. Any ideas for something to do? Naruto asked with a smile, as he didn't really expect Gragu to communicate. Gragu then looked out the window of the diner and pointed at something. Naruto looked and saw what looked at a pet shop. What do you want to go and take a look? Naruto asked him. Gragu looked at Naruto curiously and pointed at the pet shop again. I think the kid feels something there, Kurama said, as that's what he could guess. You're probably right, Naruto thought, as Gragu was force-sensitive and probably felt something there he should go look at. Okay, little guy, let's go take a look, Naruto said, as he paid the bill and picked up Gragu before leaving the diner and walking over to the pet shop. When they went in, they saw that it wasn't much of a pet shop. It looked more like a prison for animals, as everywhere they looked there were different kinds of animals in cages. Gragu whined as he didn't like the vibe this place was giving. I don't like it here either, buddy, Naruto said as he looked at an orange kitten with a small dog. Naruto looked around some more and saw what looked like a macaw in a bird cage looking sad, with a small deer in a cage underneath it. There was also a red-billed hornbill on a perch in a bird cage, while a hummingbird was in another bird cage next to it. Gragu's ears perked up, and it pointed at a small bird cage nearby. Naruto looked and saw what appeared to be a small blonde woman, with her hair in buns while she's in a short skirt dress. She also had what looked like wings coming out of her back, and they were drooped down with her head hung sadly. Hey, you okay? Naruto asked, looking at the small woman. Of course she's not okay, Whiskers. She lost her world like the rest of us, the macaw said, as he flapped his wings crossly. Wait, all the animals here have lost their worlds? Naruto asked in shock. Traverse Town isn't just for you humans, you get? The macaw said, clearly annoyed with Naruto. Good point, Mr. Bird. I'm sorry, Naruto said, as he gave the bird a slight bow of his head. It's Waddlesworth Whiskers, and I'm a dog, not a bird, the macaw said. Naruto gave a sweat drop at hearing that, while thinking, what kind of a bird thinks it's a dog? Never mind him, we think he was dropped on his head too much when he was younger, the red-billed hornbill said. And your name is? Naruto asked. The name is Zazu, my dear fellow, he said. I'm surprised you can understand animals. Well, I was a sage in my homeworld. Do you believe that is why? Naruto asked him, as he didn't have any other theories. Sound hypothesis, my boy, Zazu said. Anyway, your little green friend seems to be interested in Miss Belle. She's a fairy, and she just got here after some pirate sold her to the men here. Naruto had a look of sadness hearing that. I'm gonna guess this pirate helped destroy her world, and just sold her off? Naruto asked. Yep, you will hear a lot of that here, Whiskers. We all lost our worlds, and now we are stuck here, a gray dog said from a cage behind Naruto. Tramp be nice, you should use his name, a female brown dog said, as she scolded him. I would, if I knew it, Pidge Tramp said with a sigh. Naruto leaned down, so that he could talk with the two of them better. Name's Naruto, and I'm sorry to hear about all of your worlds being destroyed, he said as he looked at all the animals. It's okay, at least we survived. It just stinks that those two losers, Horace and Jasper, caught us and are now trying to sell us, Tramp said as he gave a growl at mentioning them. They don't try very hard, the orange kitten said sadly. I want a home and a family to love, he said as he gave a sniff. What's your name? Naruto asked the kitten kindly. My last master named me Oliver, the kitten said. Poor kid. He finally got a home before the Heartless came. Name's Dogger, by the way, the small white dog said. Well, there is an animal shelter in town, according to my friend, Naruto said, which caused some of the animals to perk up. Oh yay, I heard of that place. I heard they were great, unlike the Pound and this place, an American bulldog said happily. Well, I could get you all out, mister? Naruto asked, hoping for a name. Mister? That's a first. Call me Chance, and this is Shadow and Sassy, the bulldog said, pointing at a golden retriever and a Himalayan cat with his nose. You actually think you can free us all? Sassy asked him hopefully as she stretched. Sure, it should be easy. Oh, come on. A baby elephant? Naruto asked, as he saw a baby elephant with big ears in a way too small cage. Yeah, that's Dumbo, also known as the world's only flying elephant, Shadow said. That tears it. I'm gonna get you all free, Naruto said angrily. What's in it for you? The fairy said as she walked up to the edge of her cage. Naruto took out his keyblade and held it up as the edge glowed. Nothing, as I just want to help those that need it, he said as all the cages opened. Jailbreak, Wattlesworth yelled as he flew out of his cage. All the animals then ran or flew out of the pet shop, destroying the front of the store as they did. Follow me, my friends, to the animal shelter, Shadow yelled as he led them all. I'm right behind you, Shadow, Chance said as he added, I'm looking forward to a proper bed and 3 meals a day, unlike what those 2 boneheads gave us. Don't insult Bones, Sassy said, with a smug-sounding voice as she ran not far behind Chance. Ha, good one, Sassy, Chance said with a laugh. Naruto smiled as he watched the animals all take off to freedom. Let's go check in with Tifa and Mando, Gragu, Naruto said to Gragu as they left the ruined store. Gragu was looking at Naruto's hair curiously, before seeing it move as though something was in it. What, is something wrong? Naruto asked as he looked around the street. His hair moved again as a bell was heard coming from it. Hey Naruto, Tifa yelled as she ran over to him. Hey Tifa, how did it go with Cindy? She gonna fix the ship? Naruto asked her hopefully. She gave a nod saying, yeah, she is. We got a good discount too, Mando said, as he picked up Gragu and put him in his pod. By the way, did you happen to see all those animals that went past earlier? Tifa asked Naruto. Yup, I freed them, Naruto said, having no shame in what he did. He then explained to them what happened to make him do it. Those 2 assholes got a license to open a shop? Tifa asked. You know them? Naruto asked her, with a raised eyebrow. I met those 2 idiots in the bar all the time. I swear the mayor here sucks, allowing this kind of thing to happen, she growled out angrily. Yay, that Doom guy screams evil, Mondo said, as he had heard a lot about him. That's actually his name? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow at them. Tifa nodded, as she explained how Doom became the mayor of Traverse Town. He bought the election? Naruto asked in shock. That, and nobody wanted to run against him as they were all too afraid, Tifa said. Well, we can fix that later. For now, tell me, how did you get a discount on the repairs? Naruto asked. Tifa got a nervous look as she rubbed the back of her head as she wasn't sure how to tell him. She promised me a date with you, sugar, Cindy said as she walked over. Suddenly, Naruto's hair started shaking, and a ball of light flew out and flew over to Cindy and pulled her by her hair away from Naruto. Oh, hey, ouch! What's going on here? Oi, stop that, Cindy said as she tried to grab the ball of light. The ball of light let go of her hair and flew back to Naruto. When it stopped to hover in front of him, they could see it was the fairy from the pet store. Naruto was surprised that she'd decided to come with him and not go with the animals to the shelter. A fairy? Tifa asked, surprised as she had never seen one before. Yay, she was in that pet store. Tinkerbell, right? Naruto asked her as he channeled some sage chakra so he could hear her. Tinkerbell nodded. Yup, but you can call me Tink if you want, she said with a blush on her face. Tink it is, Naruto said with a smile as he held up his hand so she could land. Nice to officially meet you, Tink, he said as he held out a finger for her to shake. Can you understand her? Tifa asked, as all she heard was a bell ringing. Forget that. Why'd she assault me? Cindy asked, as she fixed her hair back into place. Well, I was a sage in my old world, so that's why I can understand animals. As for why she did that, ask her, Naruto said. Tinkerbell gained an angry look and looked at Cindy as she said, I don't like that hussy, she said, as she crossed her arms angrily. What'd she say? Mando asked, as he had a good idea that it wasn't anything good. She's not a fan of Cindy being forward with me, Naruto said, not wanting to repeat what Tinkerbell had actually said. Cindy gave a glare in return to Tinkerbell, as she said, and what are you gonna do, Tiny? As she crossed her arms while giving a smug look. Tink flew over to Cindy, as she yelled, I will pull your hair until there's a bald spot. Say again, Tiny, I can't hear you, Cindy said, as she placed a hand over her ear mockingly. Okay, that's enough. I refuse to let my friends fight each other, Naruto said. Tink crossed her arms and turned her head in a huff saying, she and I will never be friends. Oh, stop that, Tink. Everyone needs friends, and I believe that someday the two of you will be best friends, Naruto said. Tinkerbell scoffed and flew into Naruto's hair again before she pushed some aside and blew a raspberry at Cindy before pulling back and letting go of Naruto's hair, hiding her from view. Same to you, short stack, Cindy said with a huff. Look, Whiskers, I have work to do. I'll see you next time you're in town, she said as she walked off, while swaying her hips for his viewing pleasure. Tifa shook her head at Cindy's antics as she saw that Naruto had a small blush on his face. Mando walked over to Naruto and gave him a slight poke to jolt him out of his funk. Come on, Romeo, let's meet up with the others and let them know the ship is being repaired. Naruto gave a nod as the three of them walked off with Grogu's pod following them. With the others, the rest of the team were just leaving the farm they'd taken Beauty to. Luckily for her, there was another horse for her to play with, a small horse called Merrylegs. They walked back into town, and as they did they saw a few animals running or flying to the animal shelter sanctuary, which they puzzled over before shrugging it off. It was after a few minutes that they saw Naruto and the others walking over. Garnet waved at them as she said, "Hey guys, over here." The three of them saw the rest of the group and walked over as Grogu gave a little wave at them. So I take it that Beauty settled in nicely at the farm? Naruto asked. Helen gave a nod as she said, "Yep. And the good thing is that she has another horse to play with and keep her company." Naruto gave a nod, glad that Beauty would be fine where she was now. So, how soon can we expect the ship to be repaired? Lulu asked them. Not sure, but she'll most likely call Tifa once the repairs are done, Naruto said. As they were chatting, a faint engine noise could be heard before it started to get louder. Logan was the first to hear it, thanks to his enhanced senses. He looked in the direction of the noise and saw what looked like a trail of fire heading straight for them. The others eventually heard the noise as well, and turned to see what was making the noise. Upon seeing the trail wasn't stopping or slowing down, Logan shouted out, "Look out!" as he jumped out of the way. The others did the same thing, with Naruto grabbing hold of Garnet and Stitch as they were the smallest there. The beginning of the flame trail stopped, which let them see what made it. It was a motorcycle that was covered with flames, but what was really scary was the man riding it. He looked like a walking skeleton covered in fire, while wearing a black biker's jacket and a pair of brown trousers with a chain wrapped around his chest. Shit, Logan said, as he recognized this man as he had heard about him back in his world. Know this guy? Mando asked, as he pulled out a blaster in case things got messy. He's from my world, Logan said, as he unleashed his claws. Hero? Stitch asked, as he had heard some stories about his world. Depends who you ask. Furball, Logan said. Anti-hero, Helen said, as this guy screamed that if he wasn't a villain. How dangerous? Naruto asked, as he pulled his keyblade in its regular form. You look him in the eyes, or he burns you. You're most likely dead, Logan said. This guy got a name? Lulu asked, as she prepared a water spell in her hand just in case. Ghost Rider, Logan said. Fitting, Tifa said as she cracked her knuckles. Naruto approached the Ghost Rider, who looked at him with his head cocked to one side. You are possessed by a spirit that has spilled innocent blood, Ghost Rider said in a hoarse voice. Kid, he's obviously referring to me, Kurama said. Why are you here? Naruto asked him, while holding his keyblade defensively. Was sent by the god of death. If I destroy the spirit possessing you, I will be free of my curse, Ghost Rider said, as a dark aura grew around him. He's possessed by darkness, like Beauty was, Garnet said in realization. Only here, it will probably be harder to snap him out of it, Mando said, as civilians ran off when they saw what was happening with Ghost Rider. Kid, if he wants me then, Kurama was saying before Naruto interrupted him. The spirit you are referring to is my friend. He has made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to be destroyed, Naruto said. Kurama was silent, as he was a little surprised Naruto was facing something like this to protect him. The Ghost Rider unwrapped the chain whip from his chest, which lit on fire as part of it wrapped around his arm. Then you will burn with him, he said. He then swung the chain whip at Naruto to try and wrap him up, but Naruto dodged by jumping backwards in a flip. Nagala Cuesta, Stitch yelled, as he picked up a metal girder from a building and swung it at the Ghost Rider like a baseball bat. The Ghost Rider's body enveloped in flames, and the girder melted as it hit him, destroying it. "Whoa," Helen said, as she wasn't expecting that. Ghost Rider looked at Stitch. "Innocent," he said before looking at Helen and said, "Innocent." "What is he doing?" Tifa asked Logan. "He only goes after those that have ever done something that has hurt the innocent. Rapist, murderer, it doesn't matter which one. He'll find out and use his penance stare to make them feel all the pain they've felt," Logan explained, having seen him use it once or twice. "Scary," Stitch said. The Ghost Rider looked at Tifa. "Innocent," he said. He then looked at Logan. "You have sins on your soul," Ghost Rider said, as he cracked his chair whip at Logan, who dodged by rolling to one side. "Back off, Watera," Lulu yelled, as she threw a big water spell at the Ghost Rider. This caused him to give a scream of pain, as the water doused some of his flames before they roared back to life. Ghost Rider turned to look at Lulu. "You have guilt, but you are innocent," he said to her. Lulu's eyes widened. "Stay out of my head," she yelled at him, as she placed her hands on her head while shaking it. Ghost Rider was then blasted by a blaster, but was unaffected. He looked at the hole in his leather jacket, and then looked at the one who shot at him. It was Mando, whose blaster was smoking. "You have hurt only the guilty," innocent Ghost Rider said, before looking at Gragu, who was looking at Ghost Rider with interest. "You fear your own power, and have hurt people, but you acted out of fear," innocent Ghost Rider said. Mando shot again towards the Ghost Rider, but this time he hit his motorcycle in the gas tank, which caused it to spark, and before it exploded, a barrier formed around the Ghost Rider, which kept the explosion contained around the Ghost Rider. "Nice move, Princess," Mando said to Garnet. Garnet gave him a nod, while everyone looked as the barrier disappeared. "You think that killed him?" Logan said, shaking his head. "He's that tough?" Naruto asked, as he got ready to fight just in case. Suddenly Ghost Rider's chain shot out of the smoke at Naruto, but Naruto blocked it with his keyblade. "Enough of this. Time to pull out the big guns," Naruto said, as he went into Sage mode. The Ghost Rider walked out of the smoke, without a scratch on him. "Everyone stay back, and keep people away," Naruto said, as he charged at the Ghost Rider and swung his keyblade at him, which Ghost Rider caught with his hand without budging. "Guess that answers the question if the keyblade is a holy weapon," Logan said, as the Ghost Rider kicked Naruto into a building, breaking down a wall. "We are gonna need backup," Tifa said, as the Ghost Rider walked towards the building Naruto was in. Suddenly, a small black hole appeared behind Ghost Rider, and he started to be pulled back towards it, but he was still trying to approach Naruto. Suddenly, what looked like a humanoid dog man jumped down in front of the Ghost Rider and bashed into him with a shield, sending him back. "Ahak, you all okay?" the dog man asked them all. "Why, yeah, give a moment," Naruto said, as he got up out of the rubble in his regular form. "Kira," a duck man yelled, pointing a wand at Naruto, which healed him of his wounds. Naruto stood up and stretched himself out as he felt all his wounds vanished. "Whoa, that was faster than when Kurama's chakra heals me," he thought as he looked at the two new arrivals. "Who are you guys?" he then asked them. "Name's Donald, and this is Goofy. Stand down, newbie. We have this right, your majesty?" the duck man asked, as a figure jumped down to them from the roofs. Naruto's eyebrow twitched, as he angrily thought, "Newbie." They at least held him back, Donald, what looked like a humanoid mouse said, as he blocked the Ghost Rider's path with what looked like a golden keyblade. "Rest up, me and my team will stop him," the mouse man said, as two more figures appeared. One was a man with spiky blonde hair in a purple soldier uniform who was carrying a big sword on his back. The other was a woman with brown hair that had a flower in it, and she was holding a staff. "Cloud, Aerith," Tifa yelled with a surprised smile on her face, glad that they'd survived. "Mickey, what's the plan?" Cloud asked, addressing the mouse, as he pulled out his sword. "He's possessed by darkness, so we need to purge him of it," Mickey said, as he held his keyblade ready. "On it," Aerith said, as she charged what looked like a bright light in her hands. Ghost Rider started walking towards them, and was about to swing his chain again when Aerith cast her spell. "Holy!" Aerith yelled out, as a blinding light filled the area and struck the Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider put his hands up to try and cover his face, but it was no use as the spell hit him as he screamed in pain. When the light faded, the Ghost Rider was on the floor, but he was now human. Mickey made his keyblade disappear as he smiled. "Well, that was simple," he said, as he dusted off his hands. "Simple? That guy was kicking our asses, and you made us look pathetic by comparison," Naruto said angrily. "He saved us, Naruto. We had no way to stop him ourselves," Garnet said, as she approached him to try and calm him down. "I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at myself for not being strong enough," Naruto said, as he gripped his hands into fists. "It's okay, Naruto. You're still new to being a Keyblader, and you have much more room to grow," Mickey said reassuringly. "Well, thanks for the assist, Your Majesty," Tifa said with a bow of her head. "Wait, two things. One, he's a king, and two, how does he know my name?" Naruto asked in puzzlement. "Yes, he's a king newbie, so show him some respect," Donald squawked. "You're right, he did save me. So thanks, Mickey, right?" Naruto asked, as he approached the mouse. "No need to thank me. As fellow Keybladers should help each other," Mickey said. "As for how I know your name, my master Yensid told me about you. He tries to keep track of new Keyblade users that show up," he said. "Well, I'm glad you're here to help," Lulu said, glad that they had another Keyblader on their side. "Well, we should go. We have our own mission to do for now," Mickey said as him and his team got ready to leave. "Well, thanks again for the save," Mando said, getting a nod from Mickey as they left. They all heard a groan as the unconscious Ghost Rider woke up. "You okay?" Garnet asked as she approached the man. "Yes, I'm okay now. I'm sorry for trying to hurt you," the man said, looking at Naruto. Naruto shook his head as he said, "Don't worry about it. I know that it wasn't really you. Wasn't really the Ghost Rider either. That god with the flame hair manipulated both of us to attack you guys," the man said as he got up off the ground. "The name's Johnny Blaze, by the way." Stitch giggled at the fitting name. "Hush," Helen said to him in a slight scolding tone. "God with flame hair?" Logan asked. "I have no idea what his name was. He just introduced himself as the god of death," Johnny said, with a shrug. "Sorry about your bike," Naruto said, as they looked at the damage from the explosion which took out part of a building, with a wrecked bike in the center of the explosion area. "It's fine. I can find another. But here," Johnny said, as he handed Naruto a charm which looked like a flaming skull. "What's this?" Naruto asked, looking at the charm with a puzzled look. "It's a summoning charm. You can summon me at any time, for a short time, to help you in a pinch," Johnny said as he felt the need to help them after the trouble he almost caused. Garnet froze hearing that, as it reminded her of something about herself. She wishes she could forget all about it, as she thought about the power she had that her mother wanted. "Thanks, Johnny," Naruto said as he held out a hand. Johnny took the hand and shook his hand. "Also, don't worry, the spirit of vengeance won't be after your friend anymore, since they are similar," he said. Naruto nodded in understanding, as well as relief, as Johnny left them to go into town. "Your plan failed," Hades Maleficent said, as she angrily swiped away the mist showing them what happened in Traverse Town. "It's not my fault that the king showed up," Hades said, trying to save face. "Not only did we lose a valuable resource in that Ghost Rider, the new Keyblader now has a powerful summon to help him," Jafar said, as he slammed the butt of his staff on the ground. "What we need is a more subtle plan," Maleficent said, with a smile. "Oh, and do you have such a plan in mind?" Nerissa asked. "Indeed I do. I will order the mayor of Traverse Town to keep Naruto in Traverse Town, no matter what it takes. Otherwise he will answer to our master," Maleficent told them. "And if that doesn't work?" Ursula asked, as she crossed her arms. "I have a backup plan just in case," Maleficent said, as she made a woman appear in front of her. She had black hair, green skin, and was wearing a green jumpsuit. "You know your mission, Shigo?" Maleficent asked the woman. "Yes. Join this Keyblader's team, gain their trust, and be your spy," Shigo said, as she crossed her arms. A Trojan horse," Dr. Fassiler said with a grin at how sneaky that was. "Indeed, Doctor," Maleficent said with a smile, as Shigo disappeared through a portal to Traverse Town. The villains laughed, as this was a good plan to take down Naruto and his team from within. It was the next morning after the fight with the Ghost Rider, and Naruto and his friends were eating breakfast at Peg's hotel. Pancakes, Stitch said as he ate a tall stack of pancakes, making a mess. Ugh, Lulu said, rolling her eyes at Stitch's antics as she ate some fruit. I still say you should eat something more healthy for breakfast, Helen said, looking at Naruto as she ate her cereal. Naruto was eating some ramen made by Peg. I haven't had any ramen since I lost my world. Let me have this, Helen, Naruto said as he ate with gusto. So did Cindy get back to you yet, Tifa? Mando asked as he fed Grogu some pieces of fruit. Not yet, but she works quick, so she will have an estimated time for when we can pick the ship up soon, Tifa said as she ate some oatmeal. You went to see Cindy? Lulu asked as she knew her from her visits to the seventh heaven. She seemed to know what she was doing when she wasn't hitting on Blondie, Mando said in a tone that sounded like he was amused. Great, another rival, Garnet thought bitterly as she ate her omelet. Naruto's hair started shaking and a ringing sound was heard. Ooh, Stitch said as he finished his pancakes and looked at Naruto's hair and started sniffing it curiously. I wouldn't do that, Naruto said, as his hair shook more as Stitch got closer. Suddenly Tinkerbell flew out and flew around, making dust fall everywhere. Morning, Tink, Naruto said as he channeled Sage Chakra around his ears. Who woke me up? Tinkerbell said grumpily as she rubbed her eyes as she landed to rest on the table. Who is this? Logan asked as he looked at the little fairy curiously. This is Tinkerbell. We met yesterday when I broke out all those pets in this pet shop yesterday, Naruto said as he put a bowl of fruit next to Tinkerbell, who went to go take a look since she was hungry. Bug? Stitch asked as he sniffed at Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell looked at Stitch in rage and flew over to him. I'm a fairy, you idiot, she said as she kicked Stitch in the nose, which made him fall off his seat holding his nose. She's a fairy, Stitch, Garnet said as she looked at Tinkerbell. I have read about fairies growing up, she said with a smile. This your team, Naruto? Tinkerbell said as she looked at Naruto's team. Yep. I hope you can get along with them all, Naruto said with a smile as he finished his meal. That's your fifth bowl, Whiskers, and I hope you don't want more, cause I don't see your girlfriends wanting you eating any more, Peg said as she walked over to get their dishes. Yay, I'm good for now, and they are just friends, Peg, Naruto said as he paid her for their food plus a tip, not noticing the looks he was getting from the girls on his team at being called just friends. Wow, a tip that's not common these days. Thanks, Whiskers, Peg said as she kissed Naruto on the cheek. Naruto blushed, but he saw Tinkerbell getting mad and flying towards Peg, so he caught her on his hand. Now, none of that, Tink, he said as he shook his head at her. Oh, jealous little thing, aren't you? Peg asked with a smirk at Tinkerbell. Get your own man, ya hag, Tinkerbell yelled out as Naruto put her in his front pocket. Naruto shook his head at her antics. Anyway, Peg, why are tips so rare? He asked her curiously. Cause that asshole Mayor Doom has been increasing taxes for everyone, so money is tight for everyone, Peg said as she picked up the dishes. That guy will hopefully be gone soon since the next election is soon, Tifa said as they got up to leave. Suddenly, they saw a group of humanoid weasels enter the building. Who are those guys? Helen asked as they looked like typical gangsters. Mayor Doom's lackeys. They do his dirty work, Lulu said with annoyance in her tone. Well, Peg, how's business going, smart guy? The leader of the Toon Patrol said, causing the lovely dog woman to roll her eyes. It's slow as usual, smartass, and Peg said, causing the other weasels to chuckle at their leader's hated nickname. It's smart guy, and you'd better watch that pretty mouth of yours if you know what's good for ya, smart guy said, wagging his finger at Peg, who quickly took holding and squeezing it tightly, causing him to cry out in pain. It's my place, and I'll talk however I want, especially to you and your fellow losers, Peg said, as she applied more pressure to Smart Guy's finger. Uncle, Smart Guy yelled out in pain as Peg let him go. Finish your business and get lost before I decide to throw you all out again. You may heal, but it still hurts when you catch the fat end of my baseball bat, Peg said with a glare at them. Smart Guy's fellow weasels shivered hearing that, as they remembered the beating they took before from Peg. Smart Guy sneered at Peg, and then looked at Naruto and his group. Naruto Uzumaki, he asked as he approached them. That's me, Naruto said, trying not to laugh from Peg dealing with them so easily. Smart Guy handed Naruto a letter. You have been served, he said with a smirk as Naruto opened it and his fellow weasels laughed. You impounded Mando's ship? Naruto said in surprise after he read the letter. They did what? Mando asked, his voice sounding mad. So that's why Cindy hasn't gotten back to us, Tifa said with a frown. Yay, that bimbo gave us attitude so we locked her up too, Smart Guy said with a laugh along with his fellow weasels. Suddenly, the edge of Naruto's keyblade was at Smart Guy's neck, silencing the whole room. If your asshole mayor has a problem, he should come to me and not after my friends, Naruto said, as his eyes started turning red and his whisker marks became more defined. The weasels behind Smart Guy backed up in fear from Naruto's killer intent, leaving their leader to face Naruto alone. Not bad killing intent, Logan and Mando thought, impressed as they didn't think Naruto had that in him. If you have a pee problem, then take it to the mayor yourself, Smart Guy said. The group suddenly felt a dark chill run down their necks. As a massive wave of killing intent rose up towards them, they slowly turned their heads to see a figure cloaked in a long black trench coat and top hat and his eyes hidden by a pair of dark circular sunglasses. This was Mayor Doom. Naruto and Kurama grit their teeth as a massive wave of darkness that practically screamed killing intent seeped from every inch of his body. So you are the boy who tore up my town, fighting that Ghost Rider, fellow Doom said as he approached them. I would appreciate it if you would put away your keyblade, that is unless you want more charges filed against you and your friends, he said. Naruto glared at Doom, but put away his keyblade. This guy's something about him seems off. I can feel something dark from him, something evil, Naruto thought. If you have a problem with the way I run things here in this town, then I suggest you voice your complaints to my judicial department, Doom remarked, looking over to Wheezy, who was taking a puff of his cigar. What about Cindy, when she is getting released? Garnet asked. If you want MS Auburn released, you will simply need to pay her bail, Doom remarked, taking out his pocket watch to check the time. And just how much is it along with the amount to get my shit back? Mando asked him with his arms crossed. Greasy? Doom said, looking over to the green-suited weasel who handed Mando a bill. 30 grand, Logan exclaimed, seeing the amount. How is that fair? Tifa shouted. 25 to pay for the damages caused during your battle, plus 5,000 to pay for MS Orum's release, Doom stated as the group looked on in disbelief. This is bull, old man, and you know it, Naruto said, marching towards Doom, only to feel a cold steel blade press against the front of his neck and look to see Doom pulling a long sword from under his cane. Hey, no fighting, Peg called out, as she came back out to see what the commotion was. I was simply acting in self-defense, Doom said, sheathing his blade while Naruto continued to glare at him. I think we should take our leave, gentlemen, Doom said as he and the weasels took their leave. Yay, get going. Hopefully in the election in 3 days you get tossed out on your ass, Peg said. Doom turned to look at Peg with a smile. My dear lady, I'm sorry to inform you, but there is nobody to run against me, he said as the weasels started laughing as they all left the hotel. Damn it. That asshole probably threatened his way into running unopposed again, Peg said, as she banged her fists on the counter. Again? Naruto asked. No one ran against this creep before? He asked. Some people tried, but they were either threatened or Doom framed them for crimes they didn't do, so they had to go join the rebels, Tifa said. Rebels? Naruto asked, as this was the first time he had heard about any rebels. Yep, you haven't heard about them, 'cause they've kept a tight lip on their activities in Traverse Town, Peg stated. Are they allies? Naruto curiously asked, as the more allies they had the better. Peg nodded. Absolutely, King Mickey keeps in contact with them. So any ideas, Whiskers? Mando asked, as this was a bad situation all around. New mayor, Stitch yelled, as he growled, thinking about Doom running the place. Good idea, but we need a candidate first, Lulu said, with a hand on her chin. Any ideas, Peg? Naruto asked her. Well, I know someone, but she doesn't exactly have the resources to hire protection from Doom's lackeys, Peg said. Why not have some of us do it? Naruto asked her curiously. You have a plan? Logan asked him. Yes, we can protect her, right? Naruto asked the others. Logan has a thoughtful look on his face, but eventually nodded, showing his agreement. Best plan we have at the moment, Mando said with a sigh. Don't worry, Doom's lackeys won't get anywhere near her, Helen said with a confident smile. Here's a business card for where she performs, so you can find her, Peg said, as she handed a business card to Naruto. Good luck, you guys, she said as she got back to work. What's her name? Garnet asked curiously. Jessica Kirpnick, Peg yelled over her shoulder. And what is the plan for after we recruit her into running for mayor? Tifa asked Naruto, with a raised eyebrow. We try and find these rebels, Naruto said to her. Why? Stitch asked, not getting it as he tilted his head in confusion. Naruto looked at his team. Let's be honest, Doom is gonna most likely attack the town with Heartless if he loses the election, right? He asked. Most definitely, Lulu said, as they all nodded in agreement. Then we should find these rebels, and see if they know where the keyhole is, Naruto said as they headed to the door to leave. Lulu stopped Tifa for a moment. Are you sure this is a good idea? She asked. What? Tifa asked her curiously. Taking Naruto to meet Jessica, of course, Lulu said with a sigh. What about it? Tifa asked. Oh, come on, he could barely handle Esmeralda and Cindy. 5 minutes with Jessica, and he will go into meltdown, Lulu said with her arms crossed. Tifa laughed as that was most likely true but composed herself. Look, she's the only option we have, so Naruto will just have to deal with it. Plus, he may surprise us, she said as they both left to catch up with the others. Want to bet on that? Lulu asked with a small smile. Nope, Tifa said with a smile in return. I may have faith in Naruto, but I'm not stupid, she said as they both laughed. With Naruto. Here's the place, Naruto said, as they were outside a building with a neon sign that said the Ink and Paint Club. This is a nicer club than we are used to, so no fighting and no nonsense, Tifa said, as she looked at Stitch, who blew a raspberry at her. Behave and you can have this, Helen said, as she held out a stuffed monkey doll. Ooh, Stitch, behave, Stitch said, nodding in agreement as they all went in. Tifa had a thought and looked where she saw Tinkerbell in Naruto's hair. Hey Tink, she called out. Tinkerbell looked up and flew over to see Tifa when she grabbed Tink and put her on shoulder. You need to stay with me and behave please, otherwise Naruto will not be able to help other worlds anymore, she said. Tinkerbell tilted her head in confusion, not getting why Tifa would think she would cause trouble. Look, if you actually are our friend, promise me you will behave, Tifa said. Tinkerbell looked at Tifa surprised with this request, but she nodded her head in agreement. I read that fairies take promises seriously, so I'm gonna trust you, Tifa said. Tinkerbell's eyes widened in surprise at the fact Tifa knew so much about her people and smiled as she sat on her shoulder as they went into the main lobby. Wow, this is a nice place, Naruto said as he looked around. There was a big stage for performers and tables where people were eating or drinking. Logan saw a bar and was about to head there when Tifa grabbed his arm. What? He asked her. We should stick together, Tifa said to him. Besides, they will serve you from our table, Lulu said, as a host showed up to take them to their seats. She was a young woman who was wearing a salmon-zipped vest with a gold-rimmed fold-over collar that is zipped just below the ribcage, exposing her midriff. She was wearing brown arm warmers and brown gloves, a long salmon skirt with a silver waistband, black pants, a brown belt and brown shoes. She had blue eyes and had her blonde hair tied up held with a silver comb accessory, and had 2 long fringes framing her face. Tifa, Lulu, the woman said happily seeing the brawler and mage. Hey Quisties, how you been? Tifa asked with a smile. Pretty good, Quisties said as she looked at the group with her friends. I heard you had joined up with a Keyblader, she said. Yup, that's me. Name's Naruto, and this is my team, he said with a smile as he extended his hand at Quisties to shake. Interesting group you have. So what brings you here? Quisties said with a smile as she led them all to a big table at the end of the walkway on the stage. Miss Peg sent us here, Garnet said. We are here to see someone named Jessica, she said as she sat down. Well, she is performing soon, so why don't I get you all a free drink while you wait? Quisties asked as she handed them all menus. Your boss gonna be okay with that? Mando asked her as he sat Gragu down in a chair. I am the boss, and here are some fruit slices for the little one, Quisties said with a smile at Gragu as she took their drink orders. Suddenly the lights dimmed down, and the guys in the club all rushed to their seats excited while Wolf whistling. "What's with them?" Helen asked curiously. "The regulars here never like to miss a night when Jessica performs," Christy said, with a slight shake of her head at the customers. "Got a thing for MILFs, huh?" Logan said, as he shook his head, assuming that because she was friends with Peg, she was an older woman like her. Tifa and Lulu snorted hearing this as everyone quieted down. "What?" Garnet asked, not getting the joke between them. "You will see," Princess Lulu said with a small smile, as they looked at the stage. "You had plenty of money, 1922. You let other women make a fool of you." A melodic voice began. Beneath the curtain someone began to sing before stretching out a single slender leg. Slowly stepping from the curtain was a drop-dead long red-headed beauty of a diva. "Why don't you do right, like some other men do?" The curtain rose up, revealing the Crow Band dressed in pure white suits playing in the background, as Jessica struts over the stage wagging her finger before leaning against the wall. Sitch's jaw dropped as his tongue fell out of his mouth. Logan's eyes widened in stunned shock. Even Mando felt the heat build up in his helmet. "Get out of here," the woman sang, as she strutted across the stage. A man reached up to touch her thigh, only to be lightly kicked aside back into his seat, his face a mixture of stunned and amazed. "Get me some money too," she continued as she struts across the stage, where another man tried to reach up to touch her thigh, only for him to be lightly kicked aside back into his seat as well, his face a mixture of stunned and amazed, like the first guy. "That's the one Peg thinks could be mayor?" Mando whispered over to Lulu, who chuckled and nodded. "Yep, she's one amazing girl," Christy said as she cupped Naruto's jaw up. "Now, if you had prepared 20 years ago, you wouldn't be a wanderin' now from door to door," Jessica sang with her hands on her hips. As she struts each step, she took lit up a square on the stage. "Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here, get me some money too." As Jessica walked by, she placed her hand atop a man's head, gently setting him back in his seat, looking up like a lost puppy. Jessica made it to the end of the stage, her eyes glancing down at Naruto, who slowly rose, holding out his hand to help her down the steps as she walked around his table. "Get out of here, get me some money too," Jessica sang, scratching Stitch under his chin, causing shivers to run down his back, as he fainted on his back, earning a smirk from Jessica. "Get out of here, get me some money too." Jessica walked over to Naruto, taking a seat in the young man's lap, earning a loud gulp from the blonde, as she ran her right hand on his whiskered cheek while the left caressed his chest. "Why don't you do right, like some other men do?" Jessica said, getting up, making way back to the stage, turning back to face Naruto, cupping his collar, bringing his face and his lips dangerously close to her, before sliding back as Naruto fell into his seat completely stunned. Jessica walked behind the curtains, as they closed, looking back at Naruto with a small smile as she gave him a wink before walking off. "Wow, I'm surprised he's still conscious," Helen said in amazement, as they all looked at Naruto. "Give him a minute," Lulu said with a shake of her head. Naruto then slammed his head into the table, with a mega-sized bump on his head from the impact. "Well, it's an improvement at least," Tifa said, as Naruto was getting better with women, as he was at least still awake, unlike with Esmeralda. Tinkerbell, who was still on Tifa's shoulder, was shaking from her jealousy at seeing what Jessica had done. "Relax, shorty, he's too nice to be a pervert," Logan said, as he drank his whiskey. "My head hurts," Naruto groaned, as he held his head in pain. "Ugh, what happened anyway?" Garnet walked over and tapped him with her staff. "Cure," she said. "Thanks, Garnet," Naruto said, as his wound was gone instantly. Garnet nodded as she sat down back in her chair. "Kid, you need training. This women weakness thing is just getting sad now," Mando said, shaking his head at Naruto. "Well, excuse me, it's not my fault every woman I meet averages an 8.5 out of 10, Naruto said, not noticing his female teammate's smile at hearing that. "Still need training," Mando said, as his point still stood. Logan gave a nod as he said, "I have to agree with him. If an enemy woman seduces you, who knows what could happen to you?" Tinkerbell finally flew in front of Logan and started ringing loudly even for her. "What bug say?" Stitch asked, as Tinkerbell flew into him, pushing him over. She said, "If any bitch tries that, I'll kill them," Naruto said, as he translated what Tink had said. Big words from a non-combatant, Logan said with a scoff. Tinkerbell's head fell hearing that, as Logan was technically right. Naruto frowned hearing this. Hey, no tears, okay. Maybe you could learn chakra from me, so you can fight any enemies we face off against. Tinkerbell's head perked up as she flew around Naruto in joy, making him float a bit. Whoa, what is this? Naruto asked as he floated in place. Fairies can make pixie dust that makes people fly for a short time, Garnet said with a smile. Wow, ever since I got the Keyblade, my chakra powers have been out of whack, so I can't fly in Sage mode anymore. So this is fantastic, Tink, Naruto said with a big smile at her, as she stopped in front of his face. Tinkerbell turned red from the praise and flew into his hair again. Haha, shy, Stitch said with a laugh. Jessica will see you now, Quistis said as she walked over to their table. Great, hopefully she's up to run for mayor, Helen said, as they all stood up. Yay, and hopefully the kid can keep his tongue in his mouth long enough to ask her, Logan said with a smirk in his direction. This made all of them, but Naruto laugh loudly. Yay, laugh it up. I'll get better going forward, Naruto said with confidence, as they followed Quistis to the back of the club to Jessica's room. So who goes in with him? Mando asked, his voice sounding amused. Oh please, I can handle this on my own, Naruto said. Sure you can, keep telling yourself that, Lulu said with a hidden smirk. Yay. You all start looking for a way to find the rebels, since that's next for us to do, Naruto said, as he entered Jessica's room. Rebels? Quistis asked curiously. Logan walked towards her with a glare, just in case she would rat on them. Whoa, hold up. I'm an ally of the rebels, so I can lead you to them, Quistis said, as she grabbed a whip just in case Logan didn't listen to her. Let's hear her out, before jumping to any conclusions, Garnet said, as she wanted to avoid any unnecessary fights. Logan backed down. Fine, let's hear it, he said, while crossing his arms. With Naruto. Naruto was looking at Jessica, who was looking into a vanity mirror while adjusting her makeup. You gonna talk or stand there all day? Jessica asked him, as she did her eyelashes. Naruto shook his head and stepped forward as he said, Look, Peg sent me to ask you if you were interested in running for mayor. Otherwise Doom will stay mayor forever, and I don't think you'd like that. Jessica stopped adjusting her makeup and turned to look at Naruto with a calculating look. As much as I would like to run for mayor, I can't, as Doom's weasels would either lock me up or worse before people could vote, she said with a frown. No problem, as me and my friends can protect you until the election is over, Naruto said with a confident smile. Confident, aren't you? Jessica said as she walked over to him. I can't be any other way. This town needs help and Doom is only making it worse with his evil, Naruto said as he gripped his hands into fists. Jessica looked at Naruto and came to a decision. Okay, if I'm gonna trust you to protect me, I should know your name, she said. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to officially meet you, Jessica, he said as he held out his hand to shake. Jessica took his hand and shook it with a small smile on her face. Let's go, so you can meet my team, Naruto said as he pulled her to the door. Quick to action, aren't you? Jessica asked him. Time is of the essence, plus I can't wait to have that gargoyle thrown out of town, Naruto said with a grin. Jessica laughed at this. Gargoyle, good one, she said as they left her room. With the others. So you recruit people for the rebels by running this bar? Helen asked Quistis as she explained it to them. Yay. I give new recruits directions, and it's up to them to find them and prove they are genuine in helping, she said, as she gave a nod of her head. They test new recruits? Tifa asked with a raised eyebrow. Yay, since the leader is pretty good at getting the truth out of people. But don't worry, Naruto's Keyblade is all the proof you need. So here's the directions, Quistis said as she handed a note to Tifa, which had the directions to the rebels' base. Well, we have a candidate for mayor, Naruto said, as he and Jessica walked out of her room and over to the others. Good, and we have directions to the rebels' base, Mando said. Quiquad og whip lady recruiter, Stitch said, pointing at Quistis, as her name was hard for him to pronounce. If we are gonna head for the base, we should split up and have some of us protect Jessica, Helen said, as she didn't want to lose their only candidate for mayor. Good idea. Okay, Logan, Mando, Stitch and Helen, you four are on guard duty. until the election is over. You don't let anyone but us near Jessica, as she campaigns for mayor, Naruto said. With who's guarding her, I pity whoever is stupid enough to try, Tifa said, as Naruto pretty much gave Jessica the best fighters in the group as her bodyguards. Stitch, anyone so much as glares at Jessica, I want you to go medieval on them, Naruto said, as him, Tifa, Lulu and Garnet started to leave. Stitch gained a happy look on his face as he rapidly nodded his head. Here, Stitch, your reward for behaving, Helen said, handing him a stuffed monkey. Stitch yelled in joy as he hugged the new toy. Let's go register you as a candidate, Helen said to Jessica, as they went to leave the ink and paint club. With Naruto. Naruto, Tifa, Lulu and Garnet were following the directions Quistis gave them, and they were currently in the 3rd district, which was pretty run down and didn't have any people around. Are we getting any closer? Naruto asked Tifa, who had the directions they needed to find the rebels. According to this, we need to find a wall that has a flame drawn on it and strike it with a fire spell, Tifa said as she read the instructions. Ah, smart, none of Doom's weasels have magic, so that's the perfect way to keep them out, Lulu said as they looked around the area for the mark. As they looked, Naruto heard what sounded like footsteps, but when he looked nobody was there. Everything okay? Tifa asked him. Someone is watching us, Naruto said as he narrowed his eyes while looking around. Hey guys, I found the fire mark, Garnet said as she waved them over. Good. Lulu, if you would do the honors, Naruto said. Lulu made a small flame and shot it at the mark on the wall. The mark glowed, and suddenly a hole opened underneath them, and they fell through. Once they'd gone through, the hole closed back up and the flame mark stopped glowing. As Naruto, Tifa, Lulu and Garnet fell, Tinkerbell flew out of Naruto's hair and flew around them all rapidly, making fairy dust fly around them. Smart thinking, Tink, Tifa said with a smile, with Tinkerbell blushing at the praise. The 4 of them slowly stopped their descent to the ground below as they floated in the air. There's the ground, Lulu said as they gently landed on the floor. It's pitch black in here, Garnet said as she looked around. Allow me, Lulu said as she held up her hand and sent up a bright light into the sky. Hello, anyone there? Naruto called out, in case anyone was nearby. Suddenly, a whole bunch of lights lit up, illuminating the room. Naruto squinted at the light with his arm raised up to his face, when his senses went off telling him to duck. He immediately dropped to the ground, dodging a swipe from what looked like a blade with a gun hilt instead of a regular hilt. Naruto jumped back and summoned his Keyblade, blocking another strike and pushed back his attacker so he could see who it was. It was a young woman with wavy rose-pink hair and pale aqua eyes. She was wearing a uniform with an ankle-length red cape that was attached to the left side of her back, along with a light burgundy leather detachable pocket on her left leg. The green metallic pauldron over her left shoulder bore yellow stripes, and she was also wearing a necklace with a lightning bolt pendant and a black case that hangs off her belt. Sakura? Naruto asked upon seeing her hair, but he then had to block another strike from the woman. Definitely not her kid. This is a warrior, through and through, Kurama said. Hey, back off, Lulu said, as she sent a lightning spell at the woman. The woman quickly turned and slashed at the spell, slicing it in half. This took Naruto by surprise, as he'd heard how Kakashi had done something similar with his lightning blade jutsu. Lightning, that is enough, a woman's voice called out from the balcony above them. Everyone looked up and saw a woman who had a royal appearance to her. She had her hair up in buns on the sides of her head. The now named Lightning put away her blade in the black case and looked at Naruto. Not bad, Blondie, but your swordsmanship sucks, she said, as she crossed her arms and gave him a cold look. Can someone tell me what kind of welcome this is? Naruto yelled out. Sorry about that, but we had to be sure that you weren't part of Doom's group, the woman from the balcony said, as she came down some steps. You the leader? Naruto asked her, as he made his Keyblade disappear. The woman nodded. You may call me Leia, she said as she held her hand out to him. Your Highness, are you sure this is wise? Lightning said, as she stood next to her while giving the 4 of them a cautious look. He's a Keyblader like Mickey, plus you saw the fight footage with Ghost Rider. He's obviously an ally, and we need as many as we can get, Leia said to her. All I saw was a weakling who needed help to win, Lightning said as she looked at Naruto. Hey, I'm still new to this Keyblader thing, lady, Naruto said as he gave her an annoyed look. From what I have heard, even without your Keyblade, you should have put up a better fight than what you did with Ghost Rider. So what's your deal, Blondie? Lightning said to him. Since I arrived in Traverse Town, my power has been out of whack, and I most likely need to meditate a bit to figure out why, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. Lightning just gave a scoff as she walked off. How did you know about Naruto's abilities, besides the Keyblade? Tifa asked. A new recruit told us about him, Lightning said with a shake of her head. Who? Are they from my world? Naruto asked, hopeful that someone else had survived. Suddenly, he felt a familiar killing intent, and he blocked as a punch hit him in the side, sending him flying into a wall. You stupid idiotic moron, a pink-haired woman yelled, with her fists smoking from punching him. Hey Sakura, Naruto mumbled, as he fell from the imprint in the wall. Hey, back off girly, Tifa yelled, getting in Sakura's face. Garnet ran to Naruto and healed him of the injuries he suffered. Suddenly, Tinkerbell flew to Sakura and pulled on her hair. Oh, hey, what's going on here? Sakura shouted as she tried to swipe at Tinkerbell. Tink, stop! She's a friend from my world, Naruto said as he walked over. That howler monkey is a friend? Tinkerbell yelled out in rage. Naruto bit his cheek, holding back a laugh as that was a good one. Ha, that's a good one. Oh God, I can't breathe, Kurama said, as he held his sides in laughter while laying on the ground. Enough, Leia said, trying to get some sense of order back. An hour later. After everyone had calmed down, Sakura was talking to Naruto calmly with Tinkerbell glaring hard at her from Naruto's hair. So you don't know where Sasuke or anyone else is? Sakura asked him. No, you're the first I have encountered since arriving in Traverse Town, he replied with a shake of his head. What about you? He asked her. After I arrived, those weasel assholes tried taxing me just for healing people to make money. So I put them all through a wall, she said, with a glare at what they did. And let me guess, that made you a criminal and you went to the rebels for help, Lulu said, as she stood slightly behind Naruto. Yay, well they needed medics here. So I figured that I would help them here, and hopefully get information on if anyone from home ended up here, Sakura said with a shrug. Yes, I have my brother keeping an eye out, while he travels to other worlds looking for people who lost their worlds, so they can come here, Leia said as they approached a big camp. Welcome to HQ, Lightning said, as Naruto and the others looked around in amazement. Naruto and his teammates looked around and saw people walking around either doing chores, practicing with weapons, or even magic. Hey princess, who's the new recruits? A man with a black vest said as he approached them, along with what looked like a man with brown fur covering his whole body. This is the newest Keyblade user, along with his friend's Han, Leia said. A kid? Han asked, with a raised eyebrow. The furry man made growling noises that sounded amused at the idea of Naruto being a Keyblade user. Naruto crossed his arms, while looking at the furry man as he said, I'm 18, you know. Still a kid to us whiskers, Han said with a smirk, before he said in realization, hold on. Did you understand what Chewie just said? 'Cause you friend here can't, Han said as he pointed his thumb at Sakura. Sage ability. I can understand almost any animal, and I guess the big guy counts, Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulders. So what brings you here? Leia asked, as they all entered a hut. One explanation later. You have that bombshell running for mayor? Han asked. Chewie hit him on the back of his head, while Leia gave him a glare. Relax, princess. You know I only have eyes for you, Han said, as he didn't want to get hit by her. We are also looking for the keyhole in Traverse Town, so Doom can't try destroying the town if he loses, Tifa said. Big problem with that, Doom knows where it is, and he has the weasels guarding it with a high-tech security system, Han said with a frown. We can storm the place and seal the keyhole, Lightning said, sounding determined, as she slammed her fist into her hand. Good idea, if you want to get killed, hothead, Han said, as he shook his head at her. Lightning gave him a glare, as she crossed her arms over her chest. We have a man trying to get proof that Doom is corrupt, Leia said, as she tried to ease the tension. How will that help? Naruto asked her, with a raised eyebrow. A rule in the town charter is that if it's proven to the townspeople that the current mayor is corrupt, then they automatically lose their position of power, Leia said matter-of-factly. That's great, Garnet said with a smile. Who'd you send? Han asked, as Leia whispered into his ear and his eyes widened. Oh, come on, you sent that goofball? Han said, with a look of disbelief on his face. Who'd she send? Lightning asked him. Han whispered into her ear, and she scoffed and rolled her eyes. He's not that bad. Kids like him at least, and his niece and dog are helpful too, Leia said. Look, I'll admit he has a good heart, but he's a goofball with those tools of his, Han said. Gadgets, Leia said, correcting him. Whatever, Han said, waving his hand dismissively. Look, while we wait for him to fail, let's try and help Blondie here get a handle on his old powers, Lightning said, as she gave Naruto a piercing look. Oh, you want to train him? Leia asked her curiously. Chewie started making a noise that sounded like a mix of laughter and growling. Yay, I agree with Chewie. I got to see this, Han said with a grin. Look, let me meditate first so I can try and get some idea of why my chakra is out of whack, Naruto said to them as he sat down to meditate. Mayor's office. So, they have a candidate to run against me, huh? Doom said, as he sat at his desk with his fingers steepled. Looks like we may have a problem, huh boss? Smart Guy said. No, that Keyblader left her without a real defense from the heartless, Doom said as he leaned forward. Are you sure that's a good idea? Smart Guy asked him. We have plausible deniability if we send the heartless after her, my good fellow, Doom said as he stood up. Suddenly his intercom beeped before a voice said, Excuse me, Mayor, but a girl is here trying to sell cookies, his secretary said. Why are you bothering me with this? Doom asked in an annoyed tone. It may be a good publicity stunt if you support her trying to raise money, sir, the secretary said. Very well. Let's go, Doom said, as he swept his cloak before leaving the office along with Smart Guy. After they left, the air vent on the ceiling opened and Shigo poked her head out of the vent. After making sure the coast was clear, she then dropped down and went to the computer and put a flash drive into it. It's like he never leaves this office, Shigo grumbled, as he was constantly here and she had been waiting for hours for her chance. Suddenly her flash drive's light went hard green, and she grabbed it, but she then heard footsteps approaching the door. Shit, she thought, as she jumped back into the vent and covered it again. Suddenly the door opened, and a man in a gray detective outfit came in. Wowzers, that was easier than I thought, the man said, as he approached the desk. He then proceeded to open the drawers and start rummaging through the drawers. The rebels sent that fool? They must be getting desperate, Shigo thought from her hiding place. The man suddenly looked at the computer and snapped his fingers. Of course, the mayor must have a file of his evil deeds hidden somewhere in this office. Uncle Gadget, a voice said from the man's hand, as he held up his hand to his face like a phone. Yes, Penny, what is it? The now named Gadget said into his hand. You better find some proof soon. They are getting suspicious of me and Brain, the voice said. Don't worry, Penny. I'll find this evil man's plans soon enough, he said with determination. That fool brought his niece, Shigo thought in shock, as she looked at her flash drive she was planning on giving to Naruto to win his trust. Damn my weakness to keep kids safe, she thought, as she dropped the flash drive through the vent, and it fell on Gadget's head and bounced onto his hand. What's this? Gadget said, as he looked at the flash drive. Go Gadget scanner, he said, as his eyes started scanning the hard drive for information. Wowzers, this is perfect to stop Doom, Gadget said with a smile, as he pocketed the flash drive and then ran over to a window and jumped out of it. Did that idiot just jump out of a third-story window? Shigo thought in bemusement. She then heard what sounded like a helicopter running, as she saw Gadget flying off with chopper blades on his head. Looks like it's Plan B, to try and join the Keybladers team, Shigo thought, as she crawled through the vent to try and get out of here. With Naruto. Naruto was currently meditating in a private room, trying to enter his subconscious when finally he made it. Are you here, Kurama? Naruto asked as he was looking around. Where else would I be? Kurama asked him sarcastically. So any ideas why my chakra has been out of whack? Naruto asked as he sat down on the floor. Kurama scoffed at this. Oh, I know why. We have an unwelcome guest in your subconscious, though you may not think that knowing you, he said. Who is it? Naruto asked, as he felt another presence appear, and it was a familiar friend of his. Hinata, Naruto yelled in surprise, seeing his friend in his subconscious. Yes, it's me, Naruto, Hinata said, as she walked towards Naruto. Naruto jumped to his feet and grabbed Hinata into a hug. Hinata blushed slightly from the hug, but smiled and hugged him back. How did you end up in my subconscious? Naruto asked as they separated. I can answer that, kid, Kurama said, making them look at him. Well, let's hear it, Naruto said. She's one of the 7 princesses of light that my pops told me about as a kid, Kurama said. What is that exactly? Hinata asked curiously. They are 7 princesses with pure light hearts that can open some door. At least, that is what my pops told me and my siblings when we were kids, Kurama said. What's this have to do with why she's in my subconscious? Naruto asked him. I was getting to that, you fool, Kurama said, glaring at Naruto. Princesses of light have several abilities that others don't. My guess is that when the Heartless tried taking her to the enemy, she instinctively transferred her heart to you when you both touched hands, Kurama said, as he laid down to look them both in the eye. So she is stuck here? Naruto asked in surprise. For now, at least until you can find her body, which I'm gonna guess is with this Maleficent that Fat Cat mentioned, Kurama said. Well, that's another reason to track her down then, Naruto said with determination, as he punched his fist into his hand. Is my presence gonna continue to make Naruto's chakra out of sync? Hinata asked, with a worried look. Not anymore, I have that under control now that he knows you're here, Kurama said. But he's not gonna be at full power yet. Not until he learns to balance his Keyblade abilities with his chakra abilities, he said. Naruto groaned hearing this, as he knew that meant lots of training. It's okay, Naruto, I know you can do it, Hinata said with a smile at him. Naruto smiled hearing this, and grabbed her hand. Look, Hinata, I wanted to tell you something now that I can talk to you again, he said. Hinata covered his mouth with her hand, stopping him. I know, she said with a blush. Why you know? Naruto asked, blushing a bit. How? Naruto asked her. Ugh, she knows you love her because she's in your subconscious, you fool. You can't hide anything from her, no matter how hard you'd try, Kurama said. Thanks for ruining the mood, furball, Naruto said with a grumble. Naruto, Hinata said, I need to tell you something. Naruto looked at her, ready to listen to what she wanted to say. I know that you have been having feelings for other women you have met so far, Hinata said. Naruto blushed hearing this. I'm sorry, he quickly said, in case she was angry or upset with him. Hinata smiled and grabbed his hand to hold it. It's okay, Naruto, I wanted to tell you it's okay. You fall under the Clan Restoration Act anyway, so I anticipated this might have happened, she said. The what? Naruto asked curiously, with a tilt of his head. It means you can have a harem, you idiot, Kurama said, shaking his head at Naruto's cluelessness. Naruto's face went red hearing that, where he looked ready to faint before he got himself under control. It's okay with me, Naruto. All I ask is that you actually care about the girl if you want to make them part of the harem, Hinata said to him. Of course, I'm not Pervy Sage, no matter how hard he tried to make me like him, Naruto said with a huff. Hinata laughed at this. I know, she said with a smile. Well, I should go now, Naruto said as he turned to Kurama. You be nice to her while she's here, furball, he said. No problem, she's too nice for me to insult anyway, Kurama said with a grin. Naruto nodded as he faded away. Outside of Naruto's subconscious, Naruto opened his eyes to see Lightning looking at him with a calculating stare. You fix your problem yet, Blondie? She asked him, sounding bored. He nodded his head, saying, Yay, it's taken care of. Though I will need training to get back to full power again. Lightning gave a nod, before she walked into the middle of the room pulling her gunblade out. Good, then we can start your training in swordsmanship now. Your friends told me you have 0 experience with a sword, she said as she got into a fighting stance. Naruto summoned his Keyblade and took a stance across from her. If you're willing to train me, then I want you to not hold anything back, he told her with a determined look. Lightning lightly smirked as she went to attack Naruto with a swipe at his stomach area. With Tifa. Tifa, Lulu and Garnet were outside the building Naruto was in, and they were chatting with Sakura. "So did anyone else from your world make it to Traverse Town?" Garnet asked her curiously. Sakura looked at Garnet and smiled as she liked her as she was so friendly. "Well, there is one, but he's currently training some rebels in taijutsu," Sakura explained to them. "What's taijutsu?" Lulu asked, as she had never heard the term before. "Oh, it's what we call hand-to-hand combat from our world," Sakura said. "What's his name?" Tifa asked her curiously, as she wanted to meet a fellow hand-to-hand fighter and see where she stood against him. "Rock Lee. He's with some students now, so if you want we can go watch him train," Sakura said, as she led them to an area that looked like an arena. When they got there, they saw a young man in a green jumpsuit teaching some rebels how to fight. "Yes, my students, you are getting it," Lee yelled as he pumped his fist into the air. "Yes, sensei," the students yelled with respect as they bowed to him. "Sakura, have you found new students for me? They look youthful enough to me," Lee said happily as he walked over to greet them. "Youthful?" Lulu asked flatly. "Not new students, Lee. They are friends of Naruto that," Sakura was saying, until she was interrupted. "Naruto is here?" Lee asked, with a bright smile on his face. "Yes, and he's apparently a keyblader like King Mickey," Sakura said. "Ah, it makes sense that Naruto's worthy of having a keyblade," Lee said with a nod. "Where is he now? I would like to chat with him and have a youthful spar with him," he asked. "Training with Miss Lightning in swordsmanship," Garnet said in reply. Lee's students shivered in fear upon hearing that. Lee laughed hearing this. "He chose a fantastic teacher, as Miss Lightning is very youthful in her skills as a swordswoman." "What's with the youth stuff?" Tifa whispered to Sakura. "It's something that Lee got from his sensei, along with wearing that green jumpsuit," Sakura whispered back in reply. "So who are these friends of Naruto?" Lee asked. "This is Tifa, Lulu and Garnet," Sakura said, as she pointed to them when saying their names. "They have been traveling with Naruto, helping him while he's been going to other worlds," Sakura explained to him. Lee nodded in understanding, as he then said, "I can see from the way you carry yourself, Miss Tifa, that you are a fighter like me. Would you care for a spar?" he then asked her. Tifa gave him a grin, as she cracked her knuckles saying, "Bring it on." "I won't be holding back, since you are obviously a capable fighter if Naruto trusts you," Lee said as they walked to the middle of the training ground, and both took stances ready to fight. "I would hope so. I'm more than just a pretty face," Tifa said, as she launched herself at him with a straight punch to his head. Lee dodged it, and threw a spinning kick that Tifa blocked, but was still sent back from the force of the kick. "Geez, he not only hits hard, he's fast too," Tifa thought in surprise, as she rubbed her arm and saw she had a bruise already. She then felt something, and ducked, avoiding another kick from Lee, as she sent an uppercut and got him in the jaw, sending him flying back a bit. "Good instincts, Miss Tifa, but your striking power could be better," Lee said, as he rubbed his jaw with a smile. "No chakra, Lee, so that's all her," Sakura said, reminding Lee that no one else could use it. "Oh, then very impressive, Miss Tifa. Who taught you?" Lee said. "My teacher was the streets of the city," Tifa said. "You're self-taught?" Lee yelled in surprise. Tifa gave a nod as she got back onto another stance. Lee bowed his head in respect. "Then I will honor you by showing you a glimpse of my full power," Lee said, as he rummaged with his leg warmers. "Oh great, this will end quickly now," Sakura said with a shake of her head. "How's that?" Lulu asked, as Lee may be good but Tifa was holding up really well. "Just watch, and don't blink or you will miss it," Sakura said. Lee then showed what was underneath his leg warmers. Weights? What good would removing a few pounds of weights do? Everyone collectively thought. Lee then dropped the weights onto the floor, making a boom that sent the dirt on the floor flying and left a crack on the floor. Everyone's eyes were bug-eyed, as they thought in shock, "That's got to have been at least 2,000 pounds. Tifa thought in shock. "Prepare yourself, Miss Tifa. I wouldn't want to hurt a friend of Naruto's," Lee said as he stretched. "No gates, Lee," Sakura yelled at him. Lee nodded, as he then disappeared entirely from view. "Where are you?" Tifa thought, as she was on full guard trying to figure out where Lee's attack would come from. Suddenly she was kicked from below and sent flying into the air. I think he chipped a tooth, Tifa thought, as she tried to focus on where he was. Suddenly she turned around and caught a punch from Lee. "Got you," she yelled as she slugged him in the gut, and then kicked him on the face, sending him flying down into a wall. "Wow, she actually beat Lee with his leg weights off," Sakura said, impressed even though Lee was holding back by a lot. The fact that Tifa still beat him spoke a lot about her skills as a fighter. Tifa landed on the floor, panting from the spar she just had. "You okay?" she yelled towards where Lee landed. Lee jumped out of the hole he made in the wall with a smile. "I am fine, Miss Tifa. A very good spar. I shall train harder than ever, so we can spar again," he said, as he gave her a thumbs up and a big grin, with Tifa swearing she saw his teeth sparkle. "Do you both require healing?" Garnet asked them, as she ran over with her staff ready to help. "Thanks, Garnet," Tifa said, as she used her magic to heal her and Lee. "Ah, a magic user. I'm glad Naruto has capable friends to help him," Lee said. Suddenly Tinkerbell flew into the area and stopped in front of Tifa. "Whoa, Tink, what's wrong?" Tifa asked, as Tinkerbell was flying around trying to get her attention. "This another friend?" Lee asked curiously, as he looked at Tinkerbell with interest. "More like a groupie," Sakura mumbled, as she was still bitter about Tinkerbell pulling her hair. Tinkerbell flew over and kicked Sakura in the knee, making Sakura jump in pain. "Okay, that is it," Sakura said, as she chased after Tinkerbell, who was leading her to where Naruto was. "I think she wants us to follow," Lulu said, rolling her eyes. "Well, let's go. I want to see Naruto again," Lee said with a smile, as they all gave chase after Tinkerbell and Sakura. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and authors KFB Anime 87 and Thanatos 125 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.